Balder jumped up in shock, his voice full of disbelief as he shouted, "Raiden, what a mess this is." Rimmer cheered excitedly, bursting into laughter. "I told you Rayon would win." Dorian nodded frantically. "Yes, that is our young master." Run-On called out Rayon's name joyfully, while Burin and Martha shouted in unison, knowing he would win. Seeing this scene, Lowen was astonished, blurting out, "I have served House Zeegard for a long time, but this is the first time I've seen everyone cheer for something without caring about his status." Glenn, however, was focused on something else. The fact that friends were cheering for the boy regardless of his status was indeed surprising. But what truly amazed him was what happened during the duel. Though still inexperienced, even he could not believe his eyes. The boy had been able to use the Supreme Harmony technique. Glenn knew better than anyone that the Supreme Harmony technique was a footwork style he had created after confronting the darkness within his mind and achieving excellence. It was not a martial art that an ordinary warrior could learn in a lifetime, yet Rayon had mastered it in just 2 weeks. He squinted slightly, staring at the figure on the arena floor, deep in thought. Moreover, before Glenn's eyes, the entire stands were filled with enthusiastic cheers, everyone shouting Rayon's name in unison. Rayon, Rayon. He could not help but notice the fame the boy had achieved at such a young age. Glenn thought to himself, "In the past, I craved power too much. Power was the measure of worth in this house, and I was too old to change that." At this moment, he was certain of one thing. Born into the direct lineage and aware of the injustice toward the cadet branches, one day the boy would be able to change this house. Thinking this, Glenn slowly stood up. "The duel is over, now fulfill the boy's conditions." Just as he was about to leave, his steps paused, as if he had remembered something. Glenn turned sharply and instructed Lowen, "Cut the Footmaster's budget in half. Use every excuse if necessary." The subordinate replied, "Yes, sir." What happened next was that the conditions for the duel were carried out immediately under Glenn's guidance. Radin confessed his wrongdoing in front of everyone, kneeling before Rayon's mother and the handmaidens and apologizing to them. Of course, just as Rayon had hoped, the Footmaster was forbidden from entering the auxiliary building under Glenn's threat. As soon as that decision was made, the handmaidens could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Their stiff faces softened, and tears of happiness fell. The matter was finally resolved. Rayon held Sylvia's hand tightly. The handmaidens walked closely beside them, and everyone returned home together. Sylvia held his hand tightly, smiling shyly as she asked, "Son, since when did you become so strong? I'm really surprised." Rayon felt a little embarrassed. "I'll explain later, so don't cling to me like that." A figure stood on the city wall, taking in the entire scene, murmuring softly. At moments like this, he looks like an ordinary boy, yet his aura is completely different from before. The girl beside him continued, "At this level, Rimmer must be telling the truth about him surviving the Blood Demon Berserker." Grace spoke excitedly, "That's right. Both his footwork and swordsmanship are nearly perfect. It's more than just talent." Raisin kept his eyes on Rayon's back without blinking, resting his chin on his hand, thinking, "If he joins my unit, he'll be extremely useful." Grace, hearing this, beamed, "I'll bring him into the Black Tiger unit as soon as he graduates and has been trained." The other responded with a pout, "Forget it, you won't have the chance." Clara laughed, joining the conversation. Indeed, the apprentices at the year school are about to graduate, and once the graduation test ends, they have to choose a path as swordsmen. She didn't hesitate to comment, thinking back, although Rayon stood out the most among them, he wasn't the only excellent student at the year school. She then casually listed a few names, Martha, Burin Zeegart, and Run-On Sullian. Mentioning them, she felt a surge of anticipation. All three have the talent and strength to reach the top anywhere. The next selection will be very exciting. The scene shifted to Rayon's room. Judil stood before him, unable to hide her curiosity. "Young master, did you plan all this when you requested a duel?" Rayon nodded slightly. "You could say that, one way or another, I will win." Hearing him declare so arrogantly, Judil couldn't help but laugh. "You really are terrifying." She softened her voice, but you're also extremely kind, even more than that. Rayon asked in surprise, really? Then Judil looked him straight in the eyes, sincerely expressing, I'm truly grateful to you for saving me from Charon back then. Without giving Rayon time to respond, she quickly withdrew. You should rest, I'll take my leave. The sound of the door closing lingered in Rayon's ears as he sat silently for a while. Later, he looked up at the night sky, thinking Judil's expression just now was genuine. Judging by her reaction and how she tried to protect Sylvia, that must have been her true feelings. Now I can tell her the story about my previous obsession being fake. Fast forward to later, now during the day, warm sunlight bathed the mansions. In one room, Rimmer cheerfully held out a hand covered in gold and silver, laughing heartily as he greeted, Greetings, sir. Seeing him grin like that, Glenn and Lowen shared the same expression, speechless. Glenn sighed, Where did you get all that jewelry? Rimmer explained, I bet with the ragged imposter, the footmaster's master, thanks to Rayon. Thinking about it again, he felt thrilled. Moreover, I got enough elixirs for all the apprentices at the year school. Glenn was at a loss, so you just extorted my son. Thinking this, he still leisurely took a sip of tea, directly calling out, Showing off your jewelry isn't the reason you're here. Get straight to the point. Rimmer retracted his smile and got serious. All right, I'll be direct. I'm here to make a proposal. Glenn was slightly surprised. A proposal? I thought I had already fully trusted you with the training. Rimmer clarified, This isn't about training. He didn't beat around the bush any longer, his tone entirely serious. Allow me to change the graduation. Glenn frowned slightly, his expression full of doubt. Change the test. Be more specific. Rimmer immediately explained, The current test includes receiving recognition from the instructors or sparring among apprentices. However, the kids have already fought the trainee knights of the Owen Kingdom, and in the second mission, they survived a life-or-death battle across the giant mountain. Mentioning this, his voice carried pride. Even as apprentices, they have overcome countless challenges. Rimmer had full grounds to conclude, therefore, the apprentices at the year school need a new trial. Glenn vaguely grasped his intention, meaning. Rimmer nodded straightforwardly to confirm, Yes, I am thinking about. He paused for a few seconds, then slowly stated his idea, survival. Rimmer explained, If they can survive outside without any help or benefit from the great Sieghart name, they will reach an even higher level, even if they cannot immediately become swordsmen. Having finished presenting, he waited for Glenn's opinion. What do you think? This proposal is quite good, isn't it? Glenn didn't respond immediately, merely observing Rimmer in silence, his gaze extremely focused. The next moment, Glenn suddenly uttered a seemingly random statement. You've changed. Rimmer looked at him in surprise. Huh. Glenn continued with arms crossed. Your face was always gloomy, ever since your energy core shattered and you had to withdraw from the front line. But you haven't been like that since meeting the kids at the year school. In his assessment, Rimmer's face now radiates ambition, just like the apprentices. Rimmer hurriedly waved his hands. Wait, sir, what you're saying makes me feel embarrassed. Even Lowen, who had been silent until now, nodded in agreement. I concur. Your expression has improved. Rimmer had to admit, letting out a soft sigh, It's just. I realized I'm more talented at training the kids than being a swordsman. He could confidently state, Moreover, I will be able to train the next king to succeed you, with these hands, very soon. Glenn pressed, Are you talking about Rayon? Rimmer shrugged and smiled faintly. Who knows, maybe Burin, Martha, or even Runnan. Glenn didn't press further, the corners of his mouth curling slightly. He muttered softly, I understand. He stood up, leaving only his back to Rimmer along with a directive. Submit a report on the apprentice's graduation test within a week. I will consider this conversation non-existent if you fail. No sooner had he finished speaking than Rimmer's immediate response made him pause. Why not? He pulled out a set of documents, beaming with excitement. I've already prepared everything. The scene shifted to the training yard, where the apprentices had gathered in a cluster, complaining among themselves, telling everyone to assemble. But the master still hadn't arrived. It was always like this. Yet Master Rimmer never came on time. Perhaps yesterday he had indulged himself at the casino or a tavern, only returning home in the morning. Just as the words left their mouths, the large door was suddenly kicked open, and Rimmer appeared, beaming with excitement, apologizing for being a little late, as he had stopped by the orphanage on the way here. Burin impatiently retorted, "If you intend to lie, at least make it sound plausible." But Rimmer insisted, "I'm not lying, I'm telling the truth." He smiled faintly and quickly changed the topic. "Anyway, today I have an important announcement for all of you. I've thought long and hard about this, and after seeing you all today, I've made my decision." Rimmer formally announced, speaking briefly, "Your graduation exam is about to begin. You cannot remain apprentices forever." One of the apprentices looked anxious, saying they had heard that graduation exams usually involve gaining the recognition of instructors or sparring matches, and Rimmer explained, "That is usually the case, but your exam this time will be slightly different." The group immediately buzzed with curiosity. What do you mean, Master?" Rimmer continued slowly, "You have accumulated enough experience, the battles with Owen, the real combat experience with the Northern-Southern Alliance, even if the opponents were just low-level soldiers. Moreover, in your previous mission, you survived Eden's surprise attack," he announced excitedly. "Therefore, instead of meaningless matches or seeking recognition from instructors, you will step out into the world yourselves to witness how vast it really is. In short, the theme of this graduation exam is survival." He explained further, "Within 1 month, you will forego your status as Zeekart students and survive in different parts of the continent armed only with a sword, though he has prepared an alternative exam for those who are afraid." Run-On curiously asked the person next to him, "Rayon, are you participating?" He decisively replied, "Of course I am." Receiving the answer he wanted, Run-On nodded slightly. "Then I will participate too." Burin responded similarly, "Surely the instructor has his reasons, I will go as well," and Martha crossed her arms, mumbling, "I've been accustomed to survival since I was born." Seeing this, Rimmer reminded them kindly, "Hey, not just Rayon, all of you, aren't you deciding a bit too easily? Do you know where I will send you?" He pointed specifically, "Especially you, Rayon, as the top student. Your decision could influence the others without much thought." Rayon replied seriously, "It will certainly be a challenging journey, but I fully understand that you are not deciding this lightly, Master." He asserted firmly, "No matter what, the Master would never give us a challenge we couldn't overcome." Hearing this, the corners of Rimmer's lips curved slightly. He chuckled, praising, "You are truly commendable, but that doesn't mean I'll make it easy for you. Now, I will tell you all your destinations." Rimmer held the paper and read fluently, the Levine Desert for Burin, the Kadam Forest for Run-On, the Saiyan Gorge for Martha. He concluded with one final sentence, and finally, the Havon Castle in the northeast is for Rayon. Rayon flinched slightly. Havon Castle. Rimmer cheerfully explained Rayon's hesitation. "It is a battlefield where they must fight monsters that emerge daily from the Northern Sea and Starling Mountain, a place so harsh that it is called the battlefield of hell, because there isn't even time to sheath one's sword." He leaned closer to Rayon and kindly reminded him, "The same applies to the others, but you will have to endure much hardship." After giving the instructions, Rimmer dismissed them all. "All right, prepare thoroughly. You have about a month before departure." The scene shifted to the garden of the subsidiary building, where Helen saw Rayon training tirelessly, and could not help but worry, "Madam, that the young master hadn't been overtraining recently. He has been practicing for several days straight, even cutting down on sleep." She confessed honestly, "To be frank, I hoped he would refuse that exam. After all, it is an extremely dangerous place." Sylvia understood what Helen meant. "That is true, but clearly this is also an opportunity for Rayon to grow, because Havon Castle is his graduation exam, so he must be trying to reach his best state. She thought that we only need to quietly support him from behind so he can focus entirely on his training." As for Rayon, he also felt overexerted. "I feel exhausted because I increased the training intensity after hearing the details of the exam over the past week. Yet I still cannot shake the feeling that it is not enough. According to Rayon's research, the monsters in Havon Castle have thick skin and large bodies, making it difficult even for a sword to cut through. Because Sieghart's swordsmanship balances offense and defense, he was sure he would face disadvantages. Rayon also clearly understood that although he could use the Van Hoa 2 Kai sword techniques, since these were powerful moves, they consumed a huge amount of spiritual energy, making them dangerous in a prolonged battle. He frowned slightly, thinking to himself, Hoa Hon has helped compensate for this until now, but I can't rely on Van Hoa 2 Kai and Hoa Hon forever. With that thought, Rayon tightened his grip on the sword hilt once more. With 3 weeks left before departure, I need more information about Havon Castle and a technique that can supplement Van Hoa 2 Kai. The powerful sword descended, and in his heart Rayon knew exactly what he needed, a sword technique focused on offense. He paused his training and told himself, to get what I need, I will have to invest. As soon as he made up his mind, Rayon immediately thought of the silver token in the drawer. Not long after, he sought out Glenn, who asked sternly once more, so you want to use the silver token to exchange for a new sword technique? Rayon bowed his head, avoiding direct eye contact, and softly confirmed, yes, sir. Glenn, curious, spoke, it depends on how you use the silver tokens, but didn't you say before that you would use them for something else? At this moment, Rayon had no intention of hiding anything. Yes, I had planned to use the tokens to restore my mother's direct line status. Glenn looked even more puzzled, but knowing that, you still decided to use the silver tokens. Rayon slowly explained, I realized one thing from the Cebu village mission and the previous sword duel. Glenn nodded slightly, I hear you. Rayon spoke sincerely. My performance in that mission was truly impressive for my current ability, but the reward was only silver tokens, not gold. At that moment, I remembered what you said, that it wouldn't be easy to achieve. His eyes revealed determination, because I need gold tokens to restore my mother's direct line status, rather than accumulating silver tokens, which don't make a significant difference. It's better to use the silver tokens I have now to become stronger, then gather the gold tokens afterward. Glenn had no reason to object and nodded slightly. Exactly. With that, a book appeared in his hands. Glenn placed it beside Rayon and said, if you are preparing to go to Havon Castle, this choice is reasonable. The item was the Frenzied Fang. Rayon examined it carefully, hearing Glenn's advice. You can choose something else if you don't trust me. He told himself, at least Glenn ensured I would be properly rewarded. Since he chose it himself, its effectiveness is guaranteed. Rayon quickly knelt and expressed his gratitude. I humbly accept this manual, sir. Glenn nodded. I understand. Study it well. Rayon had no intention of staying longer, so I will take my leave. Before he could finish, Glenn suddenly interrupted. First, let me ask you something. He had long wondered, since you came here to get a manual to learn a new sword technique, you must understand what Havon Castle is like. Aren't you afraid that your graduation exam will take place there? Why didn't you refuse it? Rayon stood attentively, listening to the question, expression unchanged. Then he replied, I realized it after fighting Eden. Glenn, intrigued, asked, You realized what? Rayon explained, The experience of an unexpected life and death battle gave me growth equivalent to a year of training on the field. I realized that to become stronger, I must face situations that force me to break my limits. He declared firmly, Moreover, Master Rimmer will never give us a challenge we cannot overcome. I am certain it will be a difficult and painful journey, but I believe it will make me strong enough to later be grateful that I went through it. Seeing such determination from Rayon, Glenn had no reason to ask further and replied softly, I understand. He spoke again, Rayon Sieghart, before you leave, let me tell you one last thing. Glenn offered a piece of guidance. Swordsmanship is not limited to a single way of use. Expand the scope of your thinking. Rayon sincerely accepted it, bowing in respect, thanking him for the advice. Not long after Rayon left, Rimmer emerged from behind Glenn's chair, muttering to himself, This is why I cannot stop admiring Rayon. His eyes revealed pride. He has completely understood my intentions. As an instructor, nothing is more satisfying than having a student understand your purpose. Rimmer grumbled. He is certainly different from the talkative Burin or the sharp-tongued Martha. Glenn T's truly a terrible teacher, bad-mouthing your students behind their backs. Rimmer suddenly changed the topic. By the way, I didn't expect you to give him the frenzied fang. After all, it is worth a gold token. He laughed gleefully, teasing, your love for your grandson is truly boundless. Glenn snorted, you talk too much, Rimmer. He laughed playfully. Actually, I've been talking less lately. Rimmer's concern lingered, but the frenzied fang is a violent sword technique. I worry whether Rayon can control it. Glenn replied coldly, since I gave the book to the boy, my work is done. He casually added, whether he can learn it is up to him. Rimmer smirked teasingly. Although you say that, you gave him an important piece of advice, that is, a grandfather's love for his grandson. Glenn, embarrassed, waved his hand and used energy. I can't stand it anymore. Rimmer was quickly subdued by him. Glenn calmly stepped down, because the boy can still be so talkative. He must have fully recovered from the aftermath of the previous battle. Rimmer panicked. Wait, please calm down. Sir, I'm not fully recovered yet. Glenn paid no attention, raising his hand to strike. Since it looks like you've partially recovered, I'll teach you a lesson. Rimmer broke out in a cold sweat, stammering, yes, sir, I beg you. Before he could finish, a loud scream echoed, startling Rayon, who hadn't gone far yet. The scene shifted back to Rayon's room in the auxiliary building. He focused intently on flipping through the newly received book, thinking, this sword technique is really worth a silver token. His eyes paused on a page, suddenly stunned. This sword technique must be... It must be understood that Mad Frenzy Fang, true to its name, is an intuitive sword technique that reaches the ultimate level, consisting of relentless waves of attacks against opponents, ready to tear through their throats like the fangs and claws of a wild beast. However, an intuitive sword technique cannot be learned through theory. It can only be comprehended through combat experience. Rayon fully understood this, which is why he continuously sparred with the other trainees, gradually mastering Mad Frenzy Fang. In fact, Rayon swung his sword without pause until the day before the graduation exam. He told himself that, more precisely and intensely, he would not stop until he reached a higher realm. When no trainee was left able to spar with him, Rayon finally came closer to grasping the true meaning of Mad Frenzy Fang before his departure, and time passed like this until the night before the graduation exam. He sat in his room, letting Judil treat his injuries. She wore a reluctant expression as she complained, lately you've been getting more bruised. She murmured gently, you've been pushing yourself too hard, especially with the graduation exam tomorrow. If Madame knew you were injured, she would worry. Rayon could not deny it. Yes, I have pushed myself, because I spar every day to learn Mad Frenzy Fang. Judil tried to treat his injuries as gently as possible, sighing, that's why you have to let me take care of you. Rayon hesitated slightly. Yes, that's right. He thought for a moment and then spoke, and Judil, before you leave, I have something to tell you. Judil replied calmly, I am listening, young master. Unexpectedly, Rayon's confession immediately stunned her. Back then, I lied about forcing you to swallow the frenzy worm. But Judil remained silent, lowering her eyes to hide a trace of sorrow. In that moment, Rayon realized, so you already knew. Seeing the way you stayed silent, I guessed it. Judil's hand froze in midair, her lips trembling as she opened her mouth. I'm not completely certain, I just suspected. Rayon became even more puzzled, repeated, and suspected. Her even, steady voice spoke. She admitted, yes, at first, I truly believed it was frenzy worm. I did not dare think it was only a lie. I was afraid, and all I could think of was the desire to survive. Judil paused for a few seconds, yet gradually I began to feel more at ease in the warmth of everyone in the auxiliary residence, and the young master treated me as a human being without demanding anything in return. He even prepared a way for me to avoid suspicion from the martial hall, solely to save me." She pondered, and after a few events that followed, I realized the truth. The expression you directed at Miss Sylvia, and the look when you warned me. Judeel could firmly assert that you were only trying to protect this auxiliary residence. Honestly sharing her feelings, Judeel became even more puzzled. "That is why I began to think that perhaps you did not use the frenzy worm. But I still was not certain, because it was just a suspicion." "Why did you tell me?" Rayon's answer, without a moment's hesitation, left her frozen for a few seconds. "Because you have changed, Judeel," he slowly explained. "Just as you have always observed me, I have observed you. You have always acted behind a mask all this time, but your true emotions have begun to reveal themselves." Saying this, Rayon recalled each incident etched deeply in his mind. "And on the day Raiden came to the auxiliary residence and caused chaos, you were truly ready to rush in to protect Mother and Helen. Moreover," he paused for a moment, taking out a document. "On the bed I have information about Havon Castle. You prepared it for me, didn't you? Thanks to you, it has been extremely helpful." Rayon did not hesitate to express his gratitude, his tone utterly sincere. "Thank you, Judeel." She pressed her lips together, speaking after a long pause. "I have a younger brother," she recounted. "I do not know where he is now or what he is doing because we were separated when we were sold. But because they said that one day I would meet him again, I had to obey their orders." A surge of helplessness rose in her chest. Judeel's voice choked with bitterness. "I am sorry, young master." Just as tears were about to fall from her eyes, a deep voice suddenly spoke. "I will save your brother." Judeel listened in astonishment to every word Rayon said. "As long as Karun still targets me, sooner or later we will have to face him. And when everything with Karun is resolved, I will find your younger brother by any means, as long as he is alive." She hesitated for a long moment, finally voicing the question in her heart. "I want to ask one thing. Why did you tell me about the frenzy worm? What if I reported this information back to Lord Karun?" The corner of Rayon's mouth curved slightly, replying nonchalantly, "I guessed you would not do that." "Then what are you going to do?" Judeel was speechless, only able to sigh. "Truly a ridiculous answer." "I will follow you, master." Her eyes revealed clear determination. "Please instruct me in anything you need." Rayon nodded slightly. "All right. I leave the auxiliary residence in your care during my absence, Judeel." She bowed, respectfully accepting the order. "Yes, please rest assured and leave it to me." Everything was settled, and that night passed quietly. And then the morning of the graduation exam arrived. Rimmer stood before all the trainees present and announced, "It is time to begin your graduation exam." He reiterated once more, "All you need to do is survive on your own for a year and return. If you overcome this challenge, you will surely be able to reach a higher level." Immediately after, Rimmer looked toward Rayon, smiling faintly, then said, "Then it is time for the top trainee to say a few words." Rayon frowned, thinking to himself, "The teacher always makes me do things like this, even though it doesn't suit me at all." Yet in the end, Rayon still stood before all the trainees and spoke. "There is a saying that warriors who survive their first battle will not easily fall, and you have gone through your first battle, even if it was by chance. Everyone survived, and the mission was completed, in a situation where you otherwise had no choice but death. That is why you will not die, just as the saying goes." Saying the final words, he clenched his fist at his side, emphasizing each word with heroic force. "Hone yourselves and return, with the strength worthy of the 5 training halls." As he finished speaking, the trainees below immediately cheered, raising their hands and shouting, "Victory and survival, move forward." Rimmer watched Rayon stand calmly amid the raucous cheers, a faint smile on his lips, his gaze betraying undeniable pride. He thought to himself, "From the start, I knew he was not an ordinary person. But what is extraordinary in him is not just his strength. From observing Rayon, one could describe him in concise terms: a calm mind beyond his years, a broad heart capable of influencing those around him, a mindset dedicated to training more than anyone else, not complacent with innate talent." He, of course, did not forget to recall another matter. Furthermore, during the final training match with the teacher, the scene was etched deeply in Rimmer's memory. Rayon had mastered the frenzy fang. At that moment, Rimmer could not help but exclaim in delight, "Once again, you have surprised me." Recalling this moment, his gaze fell on the bruise on his arm, a helpless expression crossing his face. The teacher had taken the time to be his opponent, simply because he had defeated all the other trainees, and the result was this. Instead of feeling grateful, he had caused the teacher to be injured. Rimmer unconsciously found it amusing, letting out a helpless sigh. How rude. He followed the figure walking away, quietly sending a few words, "Survive and return, Rayon. Because I would deeply regret it if I did not witness the moment a new king is born." A sudden voice called out, reminding the group of trainees, "Kids, greet the grand instructor." They all bowed deeply in unison before Rimmer, loudly shouting, "Thank you, teacher, for everything up to now." He smiled brightly and replied, "Yes, I will be waiting here, so grow stronger and return safely." Before departing, Buren glanced back and left a challenge. "Rayon Zekart, this year I will give my all to become stronger, so you must become stronger too. Do not disappoint me." On the other side, Martha also seriously admonished Rayon, "Me too, do not die there, because I still owe you, and if you dare die, I will find you and give you a beating." Rayon was momentarily speechless, thinking, do they not know how to speak sincerely? At that moment, Run-On slowly approached, calling his name, "Rayon." She handed him a box. "Take this with you." Rayon was astonished. He tried to confirm, "This is a cake. Are you really giving it to me?" Run-On smiled faintly and replied, "It's fine, I have plenty more." Rayon accepted it, thanking her for the gift. Run-On waved goodbye. "I am off now, wishing you a smooth journey, Rayon." After the three had left, Rayon turned to the person beside him and spoke. "Well then, we should go, Dorian." The other looked pale, muttering to himself, "Why do I have to go to Habun Castle with him?" Rayon grabbed him by the collar and dragged him along. After a few steps, he suddenly remembered something. We still have one more place to visit first." Dorian looked confused, hastily asking, "Where are we going?" Rayon curved his lips into a small smile, leisurely saying a name, the commercial city, Kamaluun. In good spirits, he added, "Make sure to prepare some decent equipment before entering any battles." I do not know how much time had passed, the warm sunlight shining down on each simple building. Rayon and Dorian blended into the crowded flow of people. This place was Kamaluun Trade City, the central market. He scanned around, silently noting, goods were everywhere, buyers and sellers bustling. But what I needed was nowhere to be seen. It seems the real items can only be found in the black market. Dorian cheerfully asked, "Young master, the thing you are looking for is not here, right? You have been walking endlessly without stopping, so are you planning to go down?" Hearing this, Rayon suddenly stopped. "Go down? Do you know about Kamaluun's black market?" The other nodded. "Of course I knew." He grew more suspicious. "Isn't this your first time here? How do you know about the existence of the black market?" Dorian smiled, patted his chest, saying, "I may not look like it, but I grew up in a merchant guild. I am very familiar with things like this." Rayon recalled the events that had happened before, thinking, so everything up to now has been explained. He quietly thought, I had guessed part of it already. Turns out he really comes from a merchant family. No need to beat around the bush with him anymore, because he already mentioned it himself. Thinking that, Rayon let out a soft chuckle. "All right, then let's go to the black market immediately." Just as he turned around to leave, Dorian blurted out something that made him startled. "To enter the black market, you have to go through a secret passage. Young master, do you know the way to the black market?" Rayon tried to explain, stammering, that, "I heard it from Master Rimmer. If Rimmer were here, he would surely stare and question me. When did Master say that?" Dorian believed it completely. Right. Then that makes sense. I heard there is a casino in the black market. If so, Master would definitely know the way." Not long after, the two of them, cloaked in black, entered the secret passage. "Well then, let's go inside." The light inside the passage was quite dim, the space so quiet that only their footsteps echoed. After walking a certain distance, Rayon slowly lifted the curtain and stepped in. The scene that struck their eyes was Kowloon Trade City, the underground black market. Dorian felt overwhelmed. The black market was so big. He curiously looked around in all directions. I cannot get used to it. Moreover, this place is even cleaner than the surface market. Did you find what you need? Rayon was much calmer, softly replied. I have to check the auction catalog to know. The two of them found a place to sit down, Rayon flipping through the document in his hands. His eyes stopped on a page, found it, the black butterfly. Indeed, it was being put up for auction. The auction would take place tonight, with a starting price of 10 gold coins. Dorian realized Rayon's intention, momentarily stunned. You plan to buy it. That's pretty expensive, he couldn't deny, thinking, that's true. I could buy it using all the travel funds I have, but that would be too risky. Rayon silently calculated. Perhaps I should find a pawn shop or something to gather more money. Thinking this, he quickly stood up. Follow me, Dorian. The other looked confused. Where are we going? Young master, Rayon replied. Just to the pawn shop. I need to sell a few things that can be exchanged for money before the auction begins. Fast forward an hour later, Dorian, seeing Rayon step out, curiously asked, Have you finished selling, young master? But why are you still looking around instead of going straight to the auction house? Rayon said, I'm checking to see if there's anything useful. He thought to himself, there's still time before the auction starts, so I'll take a walk a bit. Besides, now I also have a little extra money for the auction. Yet, there's still nothing worth buying. He felt a bit disappointed. Usually there are treasures undervalued, just waiting for the right buyer to find them. What a pity. All right, we should head to the auction house then. Just as Rayon was about to give up, an item in the corner suddenly caught his eyes. Rayon keenly noticed it was the ring of the first master of Zeekart. I'm sure it came into my memory when learning the Manhwa 2 skill. For that reason, he couldn't help but be amazed. Never expected to find it here. Rayon decisively picked up the ring and asked the shopkeeper, Sir, how much is this? The shopkeeper smiled. You have sharp eyes. This ring can enhance strength and help clear the mind. Just give me 5 gold coins, and... Before he could finish, Dorian jumped up. 5 gold coins? Do you think you can rip us off like that? Clearly, you bought it with silver. In the shopkeeper's stunned eyes, he angrily slammed the table, listening to me. The next moment, Dorian launched into a long tirade. You said this ring enhances strength and clears the mind. But if its effect is really worth 5 gold coins, it would be sold in a store specializing in magical artifacts, not in a shabby little shop like this. So can its strength enhancement really be that great? Surely it can't compare to the ogre gloves or the ogre ring. Moreover, this ring isn't even engraved properly, only a few simple patterns. The only notable point is the surface, but it's neither beautiful nor cool, and full of cracks. It's hard to tell if it's gold or brass. Honestly, even if you threw it in the trash, no one would bother picking it up. And yet you're asking for 5 gold coins, so I suggest a different price. Saying this, without letting the shopkeeper react, he boldly stated the price, 1 gold coin. The shopkeeper broke into a cold sweat at Dorian's words and finally had no choice but to compromise. You can take it. Dorian, pleased with the outcome, winked and gave a thumbs up to Rayon. Rayon, still shocked, finally managed to say, Well done, Dorian. The essence silently appeared beside Rayon, sighing, Indeed, this ring seems to hide some kind of secret. And hey, didn't he just turn into someone else for a moment? Rayon could only force a smile, thinking Dorian is very good at negotiating, but it seems he still doesn't have an eye for quality. Rayon set aside these minor details. After all, this was indeed a major gain. At that moment, a girl suddenly walked in. Wait, you've already paid for that ring. Rayon turned to look and saw the two approaching, politely replied, Yes, I already paid. The masked girl pursed her lips, silently staring at him for a long moment. After a while, she unexpectedly negotiated, Sell it to me. No matter how high, I will pay you 10 times what you spent. Judging by your appearance, You must be a desperate adventurer in need of money. That should be enough. Hearing this, Dorian was stunned 10 times. Even though the shopkeeper blurted out, I bought it for 50 silver coins. Is it really such a valuable item? Dorian, seeing such a high offer, urged Rayon, sell it. Young master wants to buy that worthless item for 10 times the price. Rayon said nothing, just glanced at the woman, thinking, she knows how valuable this ring is, and from the way she speaks, it's clear she's implying it's worth at least 100 gold coins. He bluntly replied, sorry, but I want to refuse. The other party pressed on, then I will pay 20 times, no, 30 times that price. Rayon kept his stance, I still won't sell. The other party boldly offered 50 gold coins. Rayon, beginning to lose patience, said, I already said no. He turned his face away, loudly declaring, sorry, but I don't like selling my items. No matter how much you offer, I won't sell them. The man who had been silent all this time spoke up. Hey, I don't know where you come from, but you'd better behave properly. If you confront her, you'll only bring trouble on yourself. Rayon didn't care at all, snorting coldly. Do I have to change my mind just because of her status? I don't care about that, so stop bothering me and leave. The girl snapped angrily. Hey, who do you think you are to act so arrogant? Don't resist me and hand it over while I'm still being polite. Rayon didn't even bother to glare at her, leisurely said, so unreasonable. Just because I don't want to sell this item, are you trying to show off your noble background before I go, or shall we end this here? The masked woman crossed her arms and looked at him, adopting a superior tone. You have no idea how terrifying this world is. Think carefully about why humans always have to bow to others, if you don't want to one day die miserably on the road, forgotten and unnoticed. Rayon didn't bother arguing any further. He simply turned and walked away. If that's all, then I take my leave. Seeing that he ignored her, the masked woman trembled with anger, gritting her teeth as she called to the person beside her, Setter, let's go to the auction house, right now. Those stalls are usually visited by people who have just left the pawn shop. If he has come here, it's very likely he will participate in the upcoming auction. She made up her mind. I will definitely snatch away what he wants to buy, no matter the cost. The scene shifts to another place, a sturdy door separating the auction area from the outside. The hall buzzed with the announcer's voice, dates necklace, 70 gold coins, congratulations to the winning bidder. The auction proceeded smoothly. Each item brought out in turn was bid on. Next was the silver magic stone, then the flaming madness ring. All right, the next item is... Rayon also blended into the crowd on the balcony, arms crossed, deep in thought. Nothing has caught my interest yet. Has the black butterfly not appeared? At that moment, the host introduced, now, this item is a noble black butterfly, sustained by magic stones. The only item that sparked Rayon's interest had appeared on stage, the black butterfly. According to the host, it is highly sought after as a decorative piece due to its faint, sparkling glow. Of course, its drawbacks are its short lifespan and costly upkeep, as it only feeds on magic stones, but nothing can compare to its beauty. The next moment, the host declared, the auction began. The crowd below immediately erupted, bidding rapidly, 2 gold coins, 5 gold coins, 7 gold coins. Rayon raised his hand, slowly stating a price that stunned those around him, 13 gold coins. He quietly observed their expressions, thinking to himself, with such a high price, no one should bid any higher. After all, 13 gold coins is already far too expensive for a decorative butterfly. But then, a commanding voice rang out and shattered Rayon's plan, 50 gold coins. The bidder was the masked woman from before, Jaina. The host trembled with shock as he stammered, 50, we have reached the highest price in history. I didn't think anyone would bid higher. He hurriedly declared the auction successful. Hearing this, Jaina subtly curled her lips in satisfaction. Having achieved her goal, she turned and walked away. Setter, let's go. He looked puzzled. Did she only bid on the black butterfly? Jaina smiled. Yes, that person doesn't care about the other items at all. Moreover, he even bid higher than normal for that butterfly. She had every reason to believe the black butterfly was exactly what he wanted to buy. Jaina said, then calmly added, I have nothing more to do with that useless man. Rayon had also spotted them. Dorian immediately panicked. She's the one from earlier. She doesn't even bother to hide her malice. What should we do now? It will take some time before another black butterfly is put up for auction. Rayon gently reassured him, Dorian, don't worry about that. Go outside and find some clothes for nighttime movement. He asked in bewilderment, what? Why do we suddenly need nighttime movement clothes? Rayon said seriously, I will steal the butterfly that she bought. Dorian's face went pale. What? One must understand that the best assassins on the continent all possess unique skills, some with footsteps that are swift or silent, while others rely on sheer strength. In his previous life, Rayon had stood out among them thanks to his stealth abilities. He thought to himself, that was due to the skill I often used in combat, the shadowless step. But in this life I have learned the harmonized step, so I assumed I wouldn't need to use it anymore. Yet now, I have to rely on the shadowless step in this situation. Rewinding 10 minutes earlier, Dorian had brought Rayon what he needed. Here is the cloak you requested, young master. Rayon nodded in satisfaction. Very good. In such a short time you've already found such a fine item. Did you get any information about that masked woman? Dorian scratched his head, hesitating for a long moment. Ah, that. Rayon looked puzzled. What's with that embarrassed expression? Dorian hurriedly explained. Young master, maybe we should give up. That woman is Princess Jaina of the Balkar Kingdom. According to the information she gathered, Jaina has had exceptional magical talent since childhood, and her ability to sense magical items is extraordinary, which is why King Balkar dotes on her greatly. It's really unfortunate, but perhaps we should give up and move on to the next item. Though, wait, could she possibly be a VIP in the black market? However, as soon as Rayon heard Dorian hastily report all this, he became even more intrigued. The auction of other items will probably continue. So unlike ordinary participants, the VIP princess's items will likely be taken to her private room. If it's still in the black market area, stealing it now would be the safest option. I'll head back immediately, Dorian. Dorian hurriedly raised his hand to stop him. Wait, young master. Rayon had already vanished, leaving behind only a perfunctory reassurance, I'll head back immediately. Returning to the present, he hid behind a wall, observing the room, thinking to himself, just as expected, the princess's item hasn't yet been taken to her room. The auction staff were playing cards while chatting. One of them sighed, saying it was hard to understand the rich, spending up to 50 gold coins just to buy a black butterfly like this. The person opposite immediately reminded him, surely they had their reasons to spend so much money. Stop thinking about it and focus on the game. No one noticed Rayon's presence. His sharp gaze fixed on the item inside the nearby golden cage. There it was, the black butterfly, with a staff member standing nearby. But their attention was distracted by the card game. Seeing this, Rayon decisively decided to act, quickly channeling energy to his fingertips. He directed a stream of silent blue aura to approach the black butterfly. It fluttered its wings slightly. According to Rayon's knowledge, black butterflies fear confined spaces, so they had to be kept in a birdcage. The butterfly was currently perched on a mana stone, as it liked to consume pure mana. He only needed to emit an aura containing pure mana than that of the stone, and the black butterfly would automatically leave the cage and come to him. The plan succeeded perfectly. He looked at the black butterfly perched on his finger with satisfaction. Exactly like that. A moment later, one staff member suddenly stared blankly at the auction item, and the other urged him, do something. Focus on the game, it's your turn, hurry up. The other suddenly stood up, shouting, hey, where did the butterfly go? Only then did the two staff members realize, panicking and shouting, what? It's gone. They scrambled to figure out what to do. Damn it, quickly go find that butterfly. On this side, Rayon had already taken the black butterfly and fled. Dorian was waiting for him elsewhere, pacing back and forth, so anxious he stomped his feet. He bit his nails, full of unease. If Rayon was discovered, this would become a diplomatic issue with the kingdom of Balkar, his heart feeling like it was about to burst into flames. Thinking of the worst-case scenario, Dorian's face went pale, pulling at his hair and screaming, "I should have stopped him." Rayon turned back and saw this scene just in time. "Dorian, what are you doing?" The other spun around, startled, shouting, "Young master, when did you come back?" Rayon replied calmly, "Just now," looking at him as if he had seen a ghost. Dorian suddenly remembered something, eyes wide in astonishment. "Wait a moment, if you're back then." Rayon smiled faintly, confirming his thought. "Yes, I succeeded." Dorian was stunned. "Really?" he hurriedly suggested. "Then let's quickly return." Before he could finish his sentence, a figure suddenly appeared, cutting in with a voice, "Oh my, meeting again?" Jaina crossed her arms, smiling smugly, and said, "How do you feel? Are you angry? Perhaps you have learned your lesson. Even if you die and come back to life, you still cannot defeat me. If you give me that ring now, I will give you the black butterfly." She considered herself noble. "This is your last chance. Think carefully." Rayon interrupted without hesitation. "Are you deaf? I already said I'm not selling." Jaina was provoked by his attitude. "It seems I'm still too kind for you to understand. If you want to leave the black market safely." At that moment, a hurried voice reached them. "Young lady." She turned irritably. "What? Can't you see I'm talking?" A staff member reported in panic, "I'm sorry, the thing is." The next words made Jaina freeze. "The black butterfly is gone. I think it has been stolen." Rayon shrugged and sneered. "Oh my, looks like you're in trouble." Jaina glanced back, firmly convinced in her heart, "It's that bastard." She had every reason to think so. After all, he had mocked her, and that sarcastic smile seemed to say she had lost long ago. Though she didn't know how he did it, there was no doubt he had stolen the black butterfly. The next moment, Jaina stood facing Rayon, her voice cold as she questioned, "I thought you had a shred of shame, but turns out you're just a thief. Do you even know who I am?" Rayon replied nonchalantly, "What? Is that something I need to know?" She removed her mask and slowly introduced herself. "I am Jaina, princess of the kingdom of Balkar." She frowned, her expression showing clear displeasure. "And yet you still act arrogantly toward me," Jaina declared resolutely. "I will make sure you never steal again." Setter, standing beside her, understood and began to warm up his muscles. The moment Jaina gave the command, "Deal with him," he charged forward, swinging his fists at Rayon. Rayon had no intention of dodging, his expression unreadable. He spoke slowly, "Balkar, or a princess, so what?" He clenched his fists, eyes glaring at his opponent. He struck without mercy, landing a painful blow directly on Setter's face. He couldn't dodge in time, taking the heavy punch fully, spitting blood, eyes rolling back. Seeing her subordinate being pummeled relentlessly, Jaina immediately panicked. "What are you doing?" "He's just a thief." At the height of the tension, a sudden voice rang out, "Hey, wait." The voice was so familiar it stunned Jaina. "It's you, Rayon." She considered a possibility, but dared not believe it. The voice and approaching footsteps confirmed it. The figure who stepped forward confirmed Jaina's thought. "Greer." He greeted with a bright smile. "Oh, you're here too, Jaina." Greer's face held a radiant smile, excitedly asking, "Do you know each other?" Jaina looked suspicious. "Greer, you know this person." He replied with a smile, knowing him. "Do you remember when I said I met a true swordsman in Zeekart? That's him." The name he uttered left Jaina speechless, eyes wide in disbelief. Rayon Zeekart. She suddenly became flustered. If his family name is Zeekart, then that means he is connected to the northern mad tyrant. Jaina stared at Rayon in panic. Looking back now, she remembered hearing that the mad tyrant had blonde hair and red eyes. Could it be? He is a direct descendant of that man. Before she could even collect herself, Rayon spoke. "What did you just call me, disgusting little thief?" Jaina jumped in surprise, feeling a twinge of guilt. "That—" Rayon gave her no chance to excuse herself, stepping forward leisurely. "I think I've been as patient as possible. What do you think? Should I consider the Balkar family's actions an insult to the Zeekart family?" He stopped right in front of Jaina, his voice cold as he warned that this was her last chance, and he would consider it the impulsive action of a princess if she apologized. She stubbornly stammered that she didn't know who he was. Rayon continued calmly, saying that if she refused, he would expose her for accusing him of being a thief and trying to attack him, along with all the other disrespectful things she had done so far, calling it the Balkar Kingdom's conspiracy. Jaina gritted her teeth, clearly unwilling, but in the end, she finally bowed in concession, asking for forgiveness. Rayon received the apology he wanted, decisively turned his back, and left, saying he didn't want to make a big deal of it, and that they should stop there. He kindly added that if she didn't want her kingdom destroyed, she should be more careful from now on. A while later, the scene shifted to a building outside the black market, where Greer hesitated before speaking, asking if he had shown up at the wrong time. Rayon, sitting across from him, replied casually with a smile that of course not, and that thanks to him, he hadn't been blamed for the incident. Greer exhaled in relief and awkwardly scratched his head, saying that if Rayon was worried about Jaina, he needn't be, as he would handle it. Rayon, not being formal, thanked him for taking care of it. Curiously, Greer asked why Rayon had come to Cameloon. Rayon explained that he had come on a mission, though it was far from Zeegart, and that they had stopped by to buy some gear while taking the graduation exam. Greer nodded slightly and asked what kind of gear. Rayon shared that he was looking for a sword, as the one he had was not bad, but he had used it for too long. Greer eagerly offered to recommend a good place, explaining that in the west of Cameloon, tucked away in a street corner, there was a skilled blacksmith, though he himself had to leave for a mission. Rayon gratefully accepted Greer's help, thanking him, and after speaking, Greer stood up and excused himself, reminding Rayon to visit Owen. Rayon's mouth curved slightly as he said he would go after finishing his exam, and Greer smiled warmly, wishing him good luck. It wasn't until his back disappeared from view that Dorian dared to exhale in relief. "We're safe. I didn't think you would act so quickly." Rayon stood up calmly. "I had already planned everything. Of course, it was also lucky that Greer helped." Dorian also began to get ready to leave. "Then shall we go straight to the smithy?" Rayon shook his head slightly. "No, we'll go tomorrow. Tonight I still have some personal matters." The scene shifted to that evening, under the dim light of the room. He took out the black butterfly. Holding the butterfly in one hand and a two-colored flower in the other, Rayon murmured softly, "Black butterfly, it's time for you to show yourself." According to what Rayon knew, the black butterfly could not digest mana, even if it absorbed it, and the two-colored flower could never accumulate mana on its own. The two of them had to meet in order to release themselves from the curse. Essentially, the two-colored flower could only become a high-grade elixir possessing both fire and water energies after absorbing the mana accumulated within the black butterfly. He thought to himself that very few people knew this truth. Even he only learned it by trusting the memories of the main character. The moment Rayon placed the two-colored flower into his mouth, the system window immediately appeared and announced that the chain of the frost curse had disappeared. The endurance of his energy core and mana ring had increased, and all of his stats had risen. Observing the numbers in his status window, Rayon felt quite satisfied, a small smile curling at the corner of his mouth. The scene shifted to the next day. He was ready to depart. "Dorian, let's head to the smithy." The moment Dorian saw Rayon, he noticed something unusual, his eyes widening in confusion. "What's going on?" He followed Rayon's back, wondering why his energy and aura had suddenly surged overnight. What could have happened last night? Dorian stood there, stunned for a long while, lips moving but no words coming out. At first, he was only curious. He recalled past times, the moment he first encountered Rayon, when he himself had been curious. Dorian had been considered a disgrace to his family and was looked down upon by the main lineage and everyone else in the clan. Yet Rayon had chosen to remain silent, endure and focus on training. However, after getting close to him, Dorian realized a few things. He could confidently assert that Rayon was more worthy of the name Zeegart than anyone else in Team 5. For that reason, even when the teams were split up, Team 5 still chose to follow Rayon, Dorian thought to himself that if he could borrow Rayon's power, even his family's problems could be solved. But that thought was immediately dismissed. That was not the reason he followed him. Just as he was lost in thought, a deep voice called softly, "Dorian." Rayon turned his head to look back. "Why are you still standing there? We need to hurry to the smithy to get the sword and set off immediately. Move quickly. It's still quite far." Dorian immediately rallied his spirit, silently determined that he would follow Rayon and become stronger. He understood clearly that as long as he stayed by Rayon's side, anywhere would be fine. Thinking that he ran excitedly to Rayon, "I'm here." Then he suddenly remembered something, "And I will continuously check your sword stance on the way to Havon Castle. I think there are still many things to correct." Dorian, just a little excited, went pale. "I'll probably be fine." They quickly arrived at the smithy in Western Cameloon. Rayon spoke. "Sorry, I came here at Greer's suggestion." A muscular man sat with his back to them and slowly asked Greer, "Third Prince of Owen?" Rayon confirmed, "Yes, I came here because I believe the place he recommended would be more trustworthy." The man snorted coldly. "And that kid recommended this place?" Impossible. Yet the moment he looked up, he was immediately startled. "Huh." The energy Rayon exuded surprised Kuberud. Although the kid looked very small, his level was already on par with Greer, and though not yet perfect, the energy felt like a massive sword, sharp and steady. He sighed in admiration. "Unbelievable. Though so young, you are no ordinary person. Your energy is not like the third prince's. You are a Zeekart." Dorian was slightly embarrassed, whispering, "How does this blacksmith know when we haven't said anything?" Suddenly, the essence appeared, tilting his head arrogantly. "Real artists are like that. They can know where their clients come from and their potential." Rayon was speechless. "You talk too much." Kuberud commented, "I have met many swordsmen, but never anyone like you." Rayon politely spoke, "Sorry for the late introduction. I am Rayon Zeekart." And the one beside me quickly introduced himself. "I am Dorian." The blacksmith continued, "I am Kuberud, an immortal old man who continues to wield the hammer." Hearing the name, Rayon was slightly shocked. "Wait, Kuberud." Of course he knew the name, the creator of many superior equipment found in Owen and Balkar, his reputation spreading across the continent. He had never thought he would find Kuberud Jaden in such a remote smithy. Returning to the present, Kuberud asked directly, "Then why did you come to me?" Rayon frankly expressed, "I need a good sword to continue my journey." The man guessed, "So you need me to forge it?" He shook his head slightly, "Not like that. I am not a swordsman yet, and someone has promised to forge my first sword for me." Kuberud pressed Valkan. He guessed correctly, leaving Rayon astonished, and he nodded in confirmation. "Yes." Kuberud laughed heartily. "Just as I thought. No wonder that old man said he would not retire. It turns out he is making a sword for you. I cannot steal the swordsman Valkan has chosen." He added, "Before you become a swordsman, you need a temporary sword. Everything in this workshop is good. Take whatever you like." Dorian excitedly asked, "Mr. Kuberud, may I take one?" He laughed heartily. "Sure, I'm in a good mood. Pick one." They quickly exclaimed their thanks, and then the entire yard fell into silence. The three of them entered the workshop together, Rayon looking around with admiration, thinking to himself that the man truly lived up to his reputation across the continent. Every sword here was exquisitely crafted. He casually lifted a sword, telling himself that no matter which one he chose, he would be satisfied. Yet Rayon's gaze suddenly fell on a sword lying in the corner, that one. Meanwhile, Dorian was constantly praising everything. The swords here were truly amazing, each so good that he didn't know which to choose. Kuberud chuckled. "Of course, I made them. Kid, you can choose any sword you like." Suddenly the smile on his face vanished, his expression becoming serious. Sensing something unusual, Kuberud immediately turned around. "Wait, this energy." Rayon was already holding the sword in the corner, a dense black energy swirling around it. Rayon stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the sword in his hand with an empty stare. Sensing danger, Kuberud urgently urged, "Hey, quickly pick up any sword around you." Dorian, confused, asked, "Huh? What are you suddenly saying? The man explained, the sword that kid is holding is the demon sword. Growing even more anxious, he said the kid must be taken away from the sword before its demonic aura consumes him. Dorian glanced and hesitated. I don't think that's necessary. Kuberud snapped, what are you saying? Muttering angrily, can't you see how dangerous that energy is? But when he turned to look at Rayon, Kuberud froze for a moment. He could hardly believe it. What was happening? An enormous amount of demonic aura was emanating. Yet none of it approached the kid. At the same time, the essence spoke mockingly. You really are a lowly insect. It bared its teeth aggressively at the demon sword. How dare you approach my vessel? The essence ground its teeth and threatened. How dare you be so disrespectful? I will freeze you and crush you to pieces. Rayon interrupted it, stopping. The essence responded irritably. How dare this touch my possession? Why should I stop? Without me, you would have been consumed by the demonic aura already. Rayon spoke indifferently. I do not belong to you, and even without you, I would not be consumed by the demonic aura. Kuberud anxiously asked, are you all right? Rayon shook his head slightly. I'm fine. Besides, this is not an ordinary sword. What is it then? Kuberud frowned, his expression uneasy. A failed sword. I don't know if you heard me earlier, but this is the demon sword. He slowly recounted. In the south, there is a small village called Surin, a village where people believed a type of tree called Othello was born. They lived together peacefully. But one day, the white blood cult attacked Surin, destroying half the village, and the remaining people were taken away as they always did, leaving no survivors. At that time, after hearing about the tragedy in Surin, Kuberud bought a branch of the Othello tree to make this sword, trying to soothe the souls of the victims. Recalling this, Kuberud's voice could not hide his regret. It was a mistake. The moment the sword's hilt and blade, originally white, were completed, they were dyed red. Instead of calming the souls of the Syrian villagers, their anger had accumulated in the sword. He explained that no one could wield it, so he kept the sword in storage. He truly did not understand how the kid maintained his composure. After listening to the whole story, Rayon closed his eyes, feeling the energy inside the sword. He could clearly sense the memories of Surin flowing into his mind through the sword, the injustices they suffered, as well as their accumulated anger, the helplessness and exhaustion they endured. They had truly been slaughtered by the white blood cult. Rayon lowered his eyes and murmured softly, I still have much to accomplish. He focused on the demon sword in his hand, whispering, this also means I do not have much time, and it will be difficult to avenge everyone. But if I encounter the white blood cult, I will not forgive them. In the next moment, Rayon seriously addressed it. Will you go with me? What happened next left Kuberud shocked. The demonic aura had returned to the sword. Had it just recognized the kid as its master? Rayon gripped the hilt tightly and calmly spoke, the sword was made to soothe souls. From now on you will be called the soul-calming sword as you go with me. When it was time to leave, Rayon sincerely expressed his gratitude. Thank you for giving me such a fine sword. You not only gave me the soul-calming sword, but also an ordinary sword to use. Kuberud chuckled softly. Don't worry about that. Seeing a rising star use my sword is the highest honor for a blacksmith. Rayon turned to leave, taking a moment to glance back and convey a few words. If you ever come to Sieghart, I will certainly treat you well. The man cheerfully agreed. All right, I hope you pass the safety test. As dusk gradually fell, he stood there watching the two figures in the distance disappear from sight. Reflecting on everything that had happened, Kuberud silently admired me. I thought this kid only had talent, yet he could wield that sword and even become its master. Honestly, even now he could not believe it. Person and sword united. No, something even more than that. Kuberud suddenly had a premonition. The name Sieghart would shake the world once again. The scene shifted to Rayon's group afterwards. After leaving Cameloon and traveling north for several days, the surrounding environment was covered in snow. They could only continue onward, and as the two gradually became accustomed to the repetitive scenery, they suddenly noticed long streaks of blood appearing more and more on the snow. After an unknown amount of time, they were finally able to stop. Rayon exhaled softly. Finally we arrived. He looked up at the massive castle before him. Rayon had finally reached Heaven Castle to take his test. Dorian pinched his nose in disgust. What is that smell? On the other hand, the essence's eyes gleamed brightly, shouting with excitement, "The scent of the battlefield makes me come alive." Rayon raised an eyebrow at his companion. "Dorian, we've just arrived. Why are you acting like that? We didn't encounter any difficulties on the way here." He was sweating, looking utterly exhausted, and irritably demanding, "Are you serious?" Recalling everything that happened along the way, Dorian could not hide his frustration. "Because we left Cameloon, the weather kept getting colder. And you said the colder it got, the more we needed to move. So from morning to night, except for the times we were traveling, you kept analyzing how I used my sword, and on top of that, when it was your turn to guard, you would continuously swing your sword." Dorian's frustration grew as he spoke. "Because of this I never slept well. And now you say I didn't face any hardships." The essence nodded in agreement, frowning as it criticized Rayon. "Even an old clock knows when to rest. Training like this, you would keep me from sleeping well too." Just as Dorian collapsed in despair, a figure suddenly appeared before them. "Two of you are mercenaries. Later than I expected." He introduced himself as Tarion, Deputy Commander of Havon Castle. "The Deputy Commander of Havon Castle, Tarion Baradun, said sternly, "and I am also responsible for guiding both of you while you are here." Rayon politely replied, "Yes, I look forward to your guidance." He seemed quite concerned about Dorian's condition. "Is the boy all right?" Rayon glanced at the youth lying on the snowy ground and shook his head slightly. "It's just a normal reaction. Please don't worry too much about him." Tarion did not press further. "All right, then follow me." Rayon grabbed Dorian by the collar and pulled him along, staying close behind Tarion. Dorian quickly stood up and walked. He had no strength left to resist. "Just take me home." After a while, the two entered the castle, and the sight of young and old, covered in wounds, struck Rayon. He thought to himself, "Seeing this directly makes it even worse than I imagined. These walls are proof of collapse and reconstruction." The tired expressions on the villagers' faces, and the smell of blood emanating from the walls mixed with the stench of corpses in the air, Rayon quietly noted. He told himself, just as Judil had described, she certainly had never been here before, but only for a short time. While he was lost in thought, a figure noticed the sudden appearance of Rayon's group. It was Yua from the tavern, the Mist Branch. She walked slowly, curiosity written all over her face. "I've never seen those two before. Who are they? Mercenaries?" The old man beside her urged, "What are you doing there, Yua? We need to prepare to open the doors." She withdrew her gaze and quickly replied, "I came here, sir." Yua hurriedly ran after the old man carrying her things, and Rayon was slightly startled, instinctively looking back. His eyes rested on the girl's back, silently for a while. Not long after, Tarion led the two of them to a room. "Commander, may we enter?" "The mercenaries you mentioned, no." He quickly corrected himself. The Zeeghart students arrived, and with that Rayon and Dorian entered the room. The commander of Havon Castle, Milland Baradun, folded his arms and spoke sternly. "Welcome, Zeeghart students. I am the commander of this castle, Milland Baradun." Seeing this, Rayon thought to himself, "It seems they know we are from Zeeghart, and that must be Milland Baradun." From what he knew about this man, called the Northern Giant, he had protected Havon Castle for the past 20 years. Even the essence marveled that gaze. "It has been a long time since I have seen a true warrior." Rayon was surprised. "Do you feel the same way?" He snorted coldly. "Of course, that is the gaze of someone who has defended this place for decades." Milland said sternly, "Everyone who knows your position in this castle is here. The rest are kept secret." He spoke bluntly without pretense, "And I know why Rimmer brought you here. He wants you to gain more experience to bring back." "But here, there is no such thing as training or guidance," Milland warned coldly. He explained, "A kind teacher, warm meals, and a comfortable place to sleep. We have none of that. Only bitter cold wind to the bone, and endless battles." If you expect comfort, you should turn back now. Dorian stammered in response, we really can. Rayon slightly waved him off and stepped forward, speaking firmly, we came here to become stronger. We can endure any battlefield or situation. Millen seemed somewhat approving. I like that attitude of yours, but let's see how long it can last. He made a decision. From now on your status will be equal to the warriors, starting from the lowest level. The next moment, Millen directly issued orders below. Charles, assign these 2 kids to Scout Team 3. The subordinate obeyed. I'll do it immediately. And he carefully added, whether scouting or going into battle, let them experience everything. Now take them to their quarters. Without waiting for Millen to repeat himself, Charles immediately stepped forward to lead Rayon's group. We ask permission, sir. Follow me, kids. As they disappeared from sight, Tyrion spoke bluntly, I don't like them. Millen looked puzzled. What do you mean? He immediately explained, as you said, Dorian is trembling with fear, while Rayon is very relaxed, as if that kid came here on vacation. They won't be of any help, only trouble. Tyrion even noticed the little details and added, looking at the flower bracelet on Rayon's wrist, I cannot consider him a warrior. We'd better take them back quickly. After he finished his passionate outburst, Millen finally spoke. I understand your point, but appearances aren't everything. He had a different thought. They have already passed Sieghart's rigorous training. Those 2 kids are not as immature as they appear. Millen seriously advised, before judging, observe them a bit more. Watch first. Tyrion clearly did not expect him to respond that way, and hesitantly replied, understood. Millen was concerned about another matter. Actually, I don't know why they want us to report on these 2 kids every 2 weeks. Hearing this, Tyrion was quite surprised. That's the letter that Lord Rimmer sent. Millen's answer startled him. No, it's the master of Sieghart himself who asked me. Tyrion could barely speak. From him personally, he could hardly believe his ears. You mean the northern tyrant directly requested it? Millen nodded to confirm. That's right. He asked me to report all their actions. This is the first time I've encountered such a situation, and he even gave special instructions. Millen was slightly embarrassed. I really don't know what he wants anymore. Switching to Rayon's group, he was stunned by the scene before him. Dorian, you. In the blink of an eye, the room had become spotless, leaving Rayon astonished. Where did you find the time to clean this place? Dorian proudly boasted. While you were in the bathroom, I cleaned it. Rayon could not believe this was the same room he had seen just minutes ago, which had been so run down. He wandered to the window in shock. And where did you even get these things? The yellow curtains. Dorian smiled slyly. Of course, they were already prepared in my bag. Rayon was speechless. You didn't bring enough colors. And before he could finish, Dorian gleefully displayed his gear. Of course I did. These are essentials, red, yellow, and blue. Try saying it. Dorian lightly tapped the bag at his side, grinning with eyes squinting. Anything else you need? Rayon was so shocked he couldn't speak. That bag, what on earth is in it? At that moment, a figure suddenly entered their room, a new person. Have you finished preparing your things? He introduced himself proactively. I am the captain of Scout Team 3, Raiden. I know you kids have just arrived, but quickly get ready to depart again. Raiden summed up a few words perfunctorily and then announced, we have just received a reconnaissance request. The scene shifted to another location, a luxurious mansion, where a low, deep voice echoed, So, what wind has brought you here? Glenn slightly frowned as he looked at the person opposite him. Rimmer, ignoring his expression of annoyance, grinned broadly, eyes twinkling. Head of the family, I know everything. You secretly held a banquet to check on Rayon's current condition, right? Thinking about it, you must care for your grandson. Glenn helplessly rubbed his forehead. I heard recently that Lowen has been visiting that gambling addict often, so he must have told him everything, which is why I specifically instructed them to keep it secret. Rimmer, still excited, continued. Happy, she found the 2-colored flower during the mission to steal the snow tiger, made it bloom, and absorbed it, delivering a direct blow to the pride of that famously arrogant Balkar princess. Glenn interrupted seriously. My disciple became a thief and caused the princess of a neighboring country to be angry. And you call that happy? Rimmer casually replied, you say she's a thief. I admit that. But the princess's failure isn't her fault. He crossed his arms and nodded with satisfaction. She just responded to the provocation she stirred up herself. Even during the secret banquet, no one could figure out how she stole the butterfly. So isn't it even more enjoyable that news about her keeps surfacing afterward? Glenn's next words left Rimmer stunned. Unfortunately, there won't be a second time. I've ordered everyone to withdraw, he exclaimed. What? Rimmer couldn't understand. Weren't you curious about her next move? I also heard she just received another sword from Kuberud. Glenn slowly explained. The reason I deployed them was to prevent any interference in the family's affairs, so I had everyone withdraw. Hearing this, Rimmer, without holding back, immediately exposed the truth. Instead you chose to get notifications from Hadon Castle, right? The other was instantly speechless. He impatiently turned to look at the person beside him. Lowen, you. The man hurriedly explained. This time I haven't said anything yet. Rimmer calmly teased. You deployed the wrong person. Isn't it obvious that you are in contact with Haven Castle? Instead of overstepping your authority like this, saying your grandson is the best, you'd be doomed. He continued cheerfully. If everything proceeds smoothly, misunderstandings with the branch will be resolved, which is good for you, and your relationship with Sylvia will improve as well. So this benefits everyone. It was unclear when Glenn had risen, but suddenly he was storming toward Rimmer, face dark with anger, as if last time's lecture hadn't left enough of an impression on him. Rimmer panicked, trying to find an excuse to escape. I have something to do, right? I have to go. Goodbye, head of the family. Of course, Glenn did not relent, his anger boiling over in each word. I must ensure this lesson is deeply engraved in you. And then, in the next instant, Rimmer's pitiful scream echoed throughout the vast mansion. Even Rayon, all the way at Havon Castle, vaguely heard it, turning around in surprise. It seems there was a scream somewhere. According to Raiden, who had led them there, they were at Mount Sterling. Judging by the number of monsters and the thick snow, according to Havon lore, this place is like a living hell. He still had a mood for admiration. The scenery is spectacular. At least it's beautiful. Rayon agreed. Indeed, it is beautiful. Raiden glanced at him and suggested, well then, before starting this reconnaissance mission, let's do a test to see what experience you have. Right. The first question was posed. Where do you think this mark came from? Dorian answered first. It's quite big. Could it be from an ice troll? Rayon disagreed. No, it wasn't caused by a troll. Dorian was disappointed. Not that. According to Rayon's analysis, the footprints resembled human ones, but they were much larger and deeper. These footprints seemed to belong to a four-legged animal. He thought for a moment and guessed it must be from a Kari mountain goat. Raiden was astonished, thinking, he can tell just by looking. Still not satisfied, he asked, can you tell me when these footprints were made? Unexpectedly, Rayon answered clearly. Judging by the ground pressed down by the footprints, it's not too hard, so it must be from yesterday. If we head west, we should be able to catch it. Raiden then pointed to another mark on a tree. And what about this one? Rayon answered fluently again. The trace of a dire wolf. He even explained in detail, dire wolves usually leave sharp, thick claw marks on trees and rocks to mark their territory. But this one is dead. Raiden felt stunned. How did he? Rayon hadn't finished. Dire wolves tend to stay within the territory they marked. And these claw marks are far too old, which means it's already dead. Rayon's extraordinary performance left Raiden bewildered. What the hell is this guy? How does he know all this? It had to be noted that this team had a tradition of older recruits bullying the newcomers, but in the Havon Castle reconnaissance squad, the suffering of new recruits wasn't just a few punches or chores. It was to show the newcomers that the knowledge they learned from books was useless in practice, to teach them how dangerous this place was. Yet here, that exercise had instead become a stimulus for developing critical thinking. At this moment, Raiden suddenly felt confused. How does this guy know all that? Then what's the point of bullying the new recruits? He began to shift his focus, eyes settling on Dorian. Raiden cheerfully held a branch in front of him. You, go figure out the source of these tracks. Dorian looked puzzled. Why me? Raiden didn't care at all, roughly ruffling his hair. You idiot. You don't even know this. This is... Dorian protested helplessly. Young master, save me. Rayon just ignored him, thinking, let him be, and I'll check the surroundings first. He reminded himself that, thanks to using his legendary senses, he could survey the entire area. Rayon noticed that the sword at his side was also reacting, briefly surprised. The Chan Lin sword was independently scanning the surroundings and reporting the situation to him through spiritual energy. From his observation, in fact, it had been doing this since they arrived, absorbing spiritual energy and transmitting it to him via the monsters they had defeated together, allowing him to acquire a skill related to spiritual energy. Rayon couldn't help but marvel. It's doing its best to help me, and thinking about it, that's really wonderful. The Emperor Spirit frowned in displeasure. That damn bastard, what is he doing? My legendary senses should clearly be superior, so how dare you use that worthless thing? Rayon's response left him speechless. I appreciate it because it's trying to help me, so I don't need to rely on your power. The Essence Emperor was determined not to be outdone, insisting that the legendary sense was only a small part of his power, yet still far superior to that parasitic sword. Rayon replied indifferently, how would I know if it's better or worse? The Essence Emperor shouted angrily, I am the greatest and strongest ruler of the demon world. You don't want to hear me ramble on. Rayon cut him off decisively. Yeah, of course. The Essence Emperor ground his teeth in frustration. Arrogant fool, do as you wish. Rayon turned his attention to something else, something far more important. He remarked, because this source of power comes from you. The one who's always scheming to take over my body. I don't know what side effects it might cause. The Essence Emperor continued, no need to worry about such things, because the technique I'm about to teach you will use the cryo energy you possess. He proclaimed loudly, I, the Essence Emperor, will guide you in the true method to wield cryo energy, unlike any method you've known before. Naturally, Rayon felt intrigued, a bit anxious inside. A sudden unexpected reward. He found a corner and sat down. The Essence Emperor slowly introduced the technique. Its name is Glacia. Normally, an ordinary person could never learn this technique. You can only learn it if you hold extremely pure cryo energy in your hands. He warned carefully, with your mediocre talent, you'll need to exert yourself fully for a long time to master it. Now, focus and relax. Rayon followed every instruction of the Essence Emperor, connecting the cryo energy in his body with the cryo energy in this place. The Emperor said, stay steady, look at my cryo energy. How does it appear? Rayon closed his eyes and replied, your cryo energy seems to have merged with the snow on the ground. The Essence Emperor explained, that's only the surface appearance, it's not mixed with the snow, but with my cryo energy itself. He further stated, that is the essence of this method, connecting cryo energy with cryo energy. Rayon thought this is difficult. I've never considered using cryo energy this way. It's probably going to be hard for me to learn. He realized that instead of trying to connect directly, he needed to maintain a mental image of the connection. Only then could he perceive distant things as if they were right in front of him. As he focused and sank into a meditative state, Rayon discovered that, in reality, all the cryo energy in this place had transformed into his vision, hearing, and sense of touch. He didn't know how much time had passed, but at that moment, the world seemed to slow down for Rayon. This thought was immediately rejected by himself. No, I'm the one slowing down. Thinking of this, he tried to lift his legs. His body felt heavy, but a change had occurred that took Rayon by surprise. Each of his senses was gradually becoming perfectly acute. His vision seemed to expand. He could see Dorian being bullied by Raiden. Just as the fierce wolf had successfully hunted its prey, Rayon was not even sure how far he could see. He felt overwhelmed. He could not only see who was there, but also see their actions. Truly insane. Rayon told himself that perhaps since this was the first time, the distance he could see was very short, and the duration he could maintain it was not long. Suddenly he froze. Something had just entered his sight. It was. Rayon dashed forward to report. Captain Raiden. He appeared suspicious. What is the matter, Rayon? What he said left Raiden stunned. A mole shark was tunneling underground, and it was about to reach here. He found it hard to believe. A mole shark is about to reach this place. Raiden looked confused. This is the territory of the Sterling Mountain monsters, so a sea monster like a mole shark should not be able to get here. There was not even a single characteristic ground tremor caused by this species. As time passed, Rayon grew more anxious. I am serious, it is coming here. Raiden turned pale. How can this be? At the same time, a violent tremor occurred right behind him. The next instant, they looked up and saw a massive dark shadow descending. What? Just as Rayon had reported, it was indeed a mole shark. Even as the mole sharks stood towering before him, Raiden still could not recover. The sharks had really come here. He tried to calm himself. I have to focus. It's just me and the rookie here. We have to get out of here so we can warn the rest of the team. With that thought, Raiden immediately turned and began moving, running at full speed. But just a few seconds in, his pupils suddenly constricted. Raiden staggered, facing the charging mole shark. He felt helpless. Damn it. Why did my foot slip? At the worst possible moment. At that very moment, Rayon appeared like a god, his figure flashing, slicing horizontally through the monster's body. The massive mole shark collapsed instantly, and he turned back to instruct those behind it. I will hold off the sharks, so Captain Raiden, you should call the other members here. Rayon himself understood clearly. I know you still cannot fully trust me, but at least trust my sword. He said these words with an unwavering gaze. Raiden did not hesitate further, decisively grabbing Dorian and pulling him along. Be careful, Rayon, dodge them and survive until reinforcements arrive. The two quickly vanished from sight. Rayon seriously observed the opponents before him and looked for a way to deal with them. Now then. He gripped the hilt tightly, speaking in a low voice, let's get started. The next instant, the mole sharks frenziedly charged at Rayon from all directions. He did not flinch in the slightest, holding the sword firmly, ready for battle. The frenzied fang strike was unleashed, and the mole shark was immediately torn apart, fresh blood staining the snow red. As Rayon struck, he seriously evaluated. The effectiveness of the frenzied fang strike was better than he had expected. To be honest, normally these would be opponents that require using aura. The change up to this point surprised Rayon, but now I can hold my ground using only swordsmanship. He thought to himself, what allows me to utilize the sword more effectively and anticipate the shark's movements is that my cold energy has blended with the surrounding environment. Is this the power of Glacia? Then the correct way to use such energy sources is. Rayon realized the key to his own progress, sharpening his senses through real-world experience. He decisively swung his sword. The mole sharks were sliced one by one, and Rayon recognized that he was gradually adapting both the frenzied fang strike and Glacia, feeling as if he could defeat opponents at this level. He sheathed his sword, satisfied. I am learning new things faster than expected. Coming to Havana Castle was truly the right choice, a place full of opportunities for experience. Immediately after, Raiden arrived with a squad of reinforcements. Rayon, are you okay? I've brought backup, so retreat. But as he drew closer, the scene that met his eyes left him stunned. Just corpses of the mole sharks scattered across the snow. Raiden could not believe his eyes. He defeated the sharks alone. These are monsters capable of killing even if the whole team attacked together. He had never felt fear like this, and could only stare at Rayon. Who is this guy? Raiden pressed his lips together, silent for a long moment. Rayon glanced at him and immediately guessed his current emotion. Surely he was speechless. He thought to himself, after all, he didn't trust a newcomer and almost put everyone in danger. Even if he wanted to say something, he couldn't. Rayon basically paid little attention to this. Although his pride was hurt, it didn't matter. Raiden mumbled for a long while, stammering as he spoke, "I'm sorry," and he bowed deeply before Rayon. "Thanks to you we survived." Raiden fully realized his mistake. "Because I did not trust you. A dangerous situation occurred. I will not use the excuse that I have more experience than you." His tone revealed genuine sincerity. "Thank you, Rayon." Rayon was momentarily surprised. I did not expect him to apologize so quickly. Rayon sank down slightly, patted Raiden on the shoulder. "It is all right, Captain Raiden. I also would not trust someone who just joined the team and followed along." Suddenly Raiden spoke up. "Now I understand who you are." Rayon flinched. "What, you mean?" he thought. "Has he realized that I am a Sieghart already?" Unexpectedly Raiden grasped his hand and exclaimed, "You are an angel sent from heaven to save us." Rayon was instantly flustered. "What? No." Raiden did not wait for him to finish, excitedly declaring, "To commemorate our rookie's first mission, everyone will return and gather at the tavern. It is on me." The members present immediately buzzed with excitement, astonished. "What is our stingy captain doing? We have no reason to refuse free drinks. Let us go." Cut to the tavern. Laughter and chatter echoed loudly. "You are exaggerating." Raiden shook his head slightly, recounted the whole story. "No, I am serious. He cut down all of them, and then told me to trust his sword." Those nearby basically did not believe it, smiling wryly. "Hey, if he is that strong, why would he come to a place like this as a rookie?" He even analyzed in detail, and if you look at him, he has not even turned 17 yet. How can that be reasonable? Raiden snapped back irritably. "Are you doubting what I am saying about our rookie? You bastard." Rayon paid little attention to their conversation, focusing solely on eating. The Essence Emperor's eyes sparkled with excitement, exclaiming, "The combination of the creamy cheese and the sour pineapple is truly the pinnacle of flavor." Yet he could not understand. Is there a reason we have to eat it this way? Something feels off. Dorian noticed his disgusted expression and smiled. "Young master, it seems your taste buds are quite unique." Rayon looked skeptical. "Me?" The others laughed. "Previously I had eaten pizza and I could not finish it." The Essence Emperor heard this and immediately jumped up. "What? Your pig knows nothing about flavor. How dare you?" At that moment, a girl suddenly approached their table. The rumor was correct. The others had said that the rookie in the scout team had a face even more striking than his swordsmanship skills. Realizing she had been rude, she quickly spoke up. "I have not introduced myself yet. I am Yua," she cheerfully offered. "We also have other items on the menu. Would you like to see them?" Rayon slightly nodded. "All right, thank you." The Essence Emperor peeked in and praised. "Although this is a remote place, the menu is truly rich." His eyes stopped on a page. "Wait, this king wants to eat the mint chocolate ice cream." Rayon flatly refused. "I really do not want to eat that." Yua noticed his action and immediately started a conversation. "Perhaps you are interested in the mint chocolate ice cream. Our restaurant has the best version." Rayon quickly denied. "No, I just..." But she basically did not give him a chance to interrupt, enthusiastically introducing, "The mint grown near the Havon Castle tastes fresher than elsewhere." At the same time, the Essence Emperor gritted his teeth and scolded, "Ungrateful bastard. This king even taught you secret techniques. Is this how you repay me?" Rayon had to compromise. "I understand," and calm down. Inwardly he felt displeased. Why would a tavern have mint chocolate ice cream? Yet outwardly he had to politely order, "I will take 1 mint chocolate." Then, an unexpected voice interjected. "Hey, rookie." A young man in the scout team could not contain his curiosity. "You really defeated 6 sharks by yourself. Your energy did not seem that strong." The other hurriedly explained, "Do not misunderstand me. I just wonder how you can be so strong at such a young age. Anyway, thank you. All of us thank you." Rayon replied coldly, "Thanks, but you are praising me too much already." The others interpreted it as humility. "What do you mean? Someone with your level would be promoted immediately. I just wanted to chat with you before that happens, so do not worry about it." The person next to him enthusiastically agreed. "Exactly. When else would we have a chance to talk with you like this?" Even Dorian felt excited. "Right, Rayon, You have truly achieved something great. Yet he himself only felt awkward. I still cannot get used to being praised like this. Yua quickly served the dish. Here is your mint chocolate ice cream. The Essence Emperor eagerly urged Rayon. Eat, quickly eat. The moment he put a bite into his mouth, the Essence Emperor excitedly exclaimed, "The fresh taste spreads immediately, and before it becomes too sharp, the sweetness of the chocolate hits, just like this king, both cold and sweet." Rayon took the opportunity to say, "Hey, Raph, I feel like this when using the glacier." He slowly asked, "But there is more than one way to use it, right?" The Essence Emperor praised Rayon. "You have discovered it already. You guessed correctly." According to him, like the training techniques humans use, glaciers are not only for reconnaissance, it is a method to use icy energy with maximum efficiency and power. Rayon felt curious, "So I can use it for both offense and defense?" The Essence Emperor nodded in confirmation. "Of course," he exclaimed in awe, "truly an amazing skill. It heightens your senses and aids both attack and defense." The Essence Emperor grew even more proud. "Of course, for this king, too easy. For someone without talent like you, you can achieve something after a year of diligent practice." Rayon slightly frowned. "A year is too long," he snorted coldly. "You think it will be easy, just 1 year with this king by your side guiding you." The next moment, Rayon unexpectedly made a proposal. "So do you dare to bet with me?" The Essence Emperor was slightly surprised. "A bet?" Rayon's lips curved slightly. He proposed a wager. Whether he could master Glacier in 6 months. The Essence Emperor considered for a moment. 6 months. Seeing him so serious, Rayon thought, "It seems he is hesitating because he has always lost bets before." He then adjusted, his tone full of challenge. "All right, then 5 months. Don't you think that's worth betting on?" Hearing this, the Essence Emperor did not think much and immediately agreed. "All right, let's play." And then the magic status window notified Raph had accepted the bet. Rayon slowly stood up, urging the person beside him, "Dorian, let's head back to the dorm now." He of course agreed. "All right." Just as the two were about to leave, Yua suddenly called out, "Wait a moment. There's something I need to give you before you go." She handed over a small bag. "It seems you really enjoyed the pineapple pizza, so I made a few pineapple pastries with the remaining pineapple. Do you want to try them?" The Essence Emperor was very pleased with this action. "Well done, Pineapple Girl." Rayon politely accepted. "Thank you, Yua." She smiled brightly in response. "I hope you like them." She enthusiastically added a few words. "If you want more, come by any time." Yua saw them off to the door, waving goodbye enthusiastically, and the two happily responded, "Goodbye." The scene shifted to another location. The ground around the mountain shook violently. Raiden and the others present gritted their teeth, sprinting desperately. One of them muttered internally, "This is bad, an emergency situation. I need to retreat as quickly as possible and report to Commander Milland. The most urgent matter right now is that a group of ice trolls is gathering in the area." The scene shifted back to Havon Castle, snow falling continuously, settling on every branch around the area. Raiden once again entered Rayon's room to report, but this time with a completely different tone. "We have been ordered to eliminate the ice trolls." Dorian groaned in complaint. "Again, our first patrol mission just ended yesterday." And even Raiden felt awkward. "I know it will be exhausting to finish one mission and immediately get another, but that is the decision from higher ups. There's nothing I can do." He pressed. "Why?" He pursed his lips, unsure where to begin. "This matter goes back to an earlier report. Someone informed Milland that Patrol Team 2 discovered a group of ice trolls near Mine No. 4 underground. He stated, there are 30 of them, but likely more. I think we should strike preemptively." He appeared skeptical. "Isn't Mine No. 4 very far from No. 5? Tarian nodded in confirmation. "Yes, so we thought we would deal with the trolls first, before any monsters appeared near Mine No. 5. Milland considered for a moment. "I have a bad feeling about this." "You go with them, Deputy Leader." Tarian immediately complied. "Understood." He outlined the plan, leading the command team and the Wolf Squad. kill the trolls and investigate the surrounding areas of the Northern Sea before returning. As for the patrol team, Tyrion paused for a few seconds. I will take patrol team 3. Milland felt curious. Why? He then explained. We received a report that Rayon single-handedly defeated all the sharks in his first mission. He continued seriously. I heard he handled them in a short time without injury. If true, he should join this mission. Moreover, I want to witness those skills firsthand. Recalling the full story, Raiden tried to rally his spirits, telling himself, all right, he said he would fight on any battlefield, so just bring him along. He didn't explain further, leaving only one instruction, anyway, prepare well and sleep early. In the blink of an eye, Raiden's figure disappeared, and the door in front of them slammed shut. Dorian panicked, shouting loudly, we're doomed. We just returned from the first mission. I didn't expect to have to join the next mission without resting. He began to lose his composure, chokingly asked Rayon, young master, do you really think your sword won't work against ice trolls? Rayon replied with a single word, yes. Essentially, ice trolls have thick and tough skin because they live in extremely cold weather. It is said very difficult to kill them unless Rayon imbues aura into his sword. Moreover, ice trolls have impressive regeneration skills like other troll species. Dorian didn't hear a word of it, huddled under his blanket, collapsed. We're doomed. I will surely die on this mission. I should write my will. Rayon gently reassured him. Don't be afraid, Dorian. If you use your speed, you can defeat one. The other wrapped himself in the blanket, mumbling, even if you say that, I'm still scared. When Rayon added, there is another way, Dorian peeked his head out. What? Rayon calmly said, that's right. One way to not fear ice trolls. If you fight alongside me, ice trolls will look like any other monster. Saying that, he lifted his sword, smiling in a way that made Dorian shiver. Now let's train. He hurriedly tried to dodge. Now that I think about it, ice trolls really aren't scary at all. Good night. Seeing this, the Essence Emperor grumbled. Truly a peculiar one. Fast forward to the second day. In front of the main gate of Havana City, Tyrion held the list in his hand. Now, it's time for roll call. Rayon felt a little concerned about the condition of the person next to him. Are you okay, Dorian? He looked exhausted but tried to respond optimistically. Yes, I think anything is better than sparring with you. Rayon blurted out. Glad to hear that. Just then, a figure suddenly approached to talk to him. Hello, you are Rayon, right? He introduced himself proactively as he came closer. I am Bateau, captain of the Wolf Squad. Bateau curved his lips into a faint smile. Very pleased to meet you. Members of my team always say they want to spar with you. He suddenly laughed. I didn't know you were a patrol team member. Rayon watched him cautiously for a few seconds and politely replied, very pleased to meet you, sir. Bateau shook hands with him. I am looking forward to working with you today. Rayon returned the gesture. Same here. After the greeting, he turned to leave. Now, excuse me, I have to check on the team members. I just wanted to introduce myself. The Essence Emperor frowned. I don't like him, gouged his eyes out. His harsh reaction made Rayon feel strange. What? The Essence Emperor only gave a brief warning. You shouldn't trust those with snake-like eyes. He explained. From my experience, people like him are usually traitors. About 80%. Rayon continued. So you're left with 20% uncertain. Despite saying that, there was one thing Rayon did not voice aloud. But I will remember that. Rayon quietly observed Bateau, thinking, indeed, I feel a little uncomfortable looking into his eyes. He reminded himself that while here he should keep an eye on him. Just at that moment, footsteps grew closer. A clear voice rang out, you guys. Yua ran over holding a box of food. Sorry for being a bit late. I prepared the food you ordered. The members of the reconnaissance team immediately greeted her. Oh, Yua. They cheerfully praised her. How do you become cuter with each meeting? And your cooking keeps improving. Some couldn't resist patting Yua's head. She is the pride of Havana City. Seeing this warm scene, the corner of Rayon's mouth curved slightly. Yua, right? She is beloved by the warriors. I think of her as the mascot of Havana City. While he was dazed, he heard someone call his name, young Master Rayon. Yua cheerfully ran to him. Here is the jerky that you and I made. It's very tasty, so take it with you. Rayon was slightly surprised. Why is she giving this to me? She giggled in response. Because this is your first expedition. Next time you should buy it yourself. Rayon had no choice but to accept her kindness. Thank you. I'm sure it's delicious. He gently patted Yua's head, and she mischievously smiled. If you like it, then next time come and buy it. Not long after, Tarion gave the command, if you're ready then line up. We'll summarize the information before departure. He announced that we have 2 missions. 1 is to eliminate the ice trolls, and 2 is to patrol the areas between Mount Sterling and the Northern Sea. Tarion emphasized one point. Our goal is to ensure that no one gets hurt. The Essence Emperor was quieter than usual. Rayon couldn't help but wonder. What's the matter? You look serious. He gazed thoughtfully at the mountain ahead, thinking, the energy radiating from the mountain, not strong, but I can sense it. The Essence Emperor immediately considered a possibility. Could it be him? Though inwardly conflicted, outwardly he tried to appear calm, nothing at all. Rayon looked at the Essence Emperor deeply, then quickly followed the group, departing immediately after the command, let's go. Rayon's group was about to move when they were stopped. Hey, scouts, carry these backpacks before departure. They left a mountain of luggage for him and then walked away. If he lost even one of them, he'd be in big trouble. And one of them even joked, exactly, treat them like you treat your lover, though you probably don't even know what that's like since you've never had a lover. Their actions left Rayon puzzled. Captain Raiden, why is the Snow Assault Team asking scouts to carry backpacks for them? He suddenly remembered. This is the first mission Rayon is doing with them, right? According to Raiden, they said they needed to conserve their strength for fighting because they are the main combatants. And ever since those guys were assigned here, it has always been like this. He understood Rayon's frustration, very irritating. But we have no choice. As scouts, we have no authority and are weaker. We must endure and follow their orders. Raiden tried to offer some consolation. But this is still better than last time. Last time, even after the battle ended, they made us carry all the equipment back. They even dumped all the post-mission cleaning tasks on us. Meanwhile, the other members of the scout team were happily surrounding Dorian. And he quietly told everyone, give me all your equipment. Everyone was amazed. How did it fit in just one bag? On Raiden's side, he gave Rayon some advice. It's unfair, but don't dwell on it too much. You'll feel better that way. Here, strength and rank are absolute. Rayon lowered his eyes, said nothing, only feeling it was ridiculous, truly absurd. He couldn't understand, thinking, while they prepare for combat, we are the ones risking our lives to scout ahead. Scouting means we face traps or enemies first, and we are the ones being discriminated against. Thinking this, he raised an eyebrow and snorted. I thought there would be comradeship on the front lines, but apparently not. Raiden held his forehead helplessly, at least not with the Snow Assault Team. He explained, these things seem to be orchestrated by their captain, Captain Ediquil. That guy really thinks this whole situation is normal. Rayon's gaze fell on the man surrounded by members of the assault team. So that's Ediquil, and these toxic habits originate from him. He pressed his lips together, thinking, then we just need to crush that guy. Not long after, the group continued their journey, each step pressing heavily into the white snow. Tarion suddenly froze, eyes wide as he looked at the scene ahead. What was happening? He exclaimed in shock. There aren't any ice trolls, contrary to the report. Raiden was also stunned, mumbling, impossible. Tarion suddenly grew suspicious. Raiden, are you really sure? The other confirmed anxiously. Yes, I'm certain. I saw 30 ice trolls gathering at the outskirts of the forest. Ediquil interjected, his tone dripping with displeasure. This is why I said the scout team shouldn't go alone. There should be at least one swordsman accompanying each reconnaissance mission. Raiden weakly spoke up, but I'm certain I saw them. Tarion cut him off. We'll talk later. Everyone, spread out and search for signs of the trolls. Extend your senses to the limit and scout the area. Those present responded in unison. Understood. Immediately after, All members of the scout team diligently began surveying the situation. Rayon stood to the side observing them. He thought to himself, it's been an hour already, but we still haven't found any traces. These people have lived here for a long time and are very skilled. Rayon suddenly felt something was off. Even though ice trolls leave fewer traces than usual, they must leave something. Could someone be behind this? He grew slightly anxious. This isn't good. At this rate, thinking this, Rayon immediately approached Tarion for permission. Commander, may I go look for them? The other hesitated slightly. You? He nodded slightly. Yes, I just want to confirm one thing. Ediquil suddenly jumped in, grumbling. Hey, don't meddle in this. Just go help set up the camp or something. Tarion directly interrupted. Enough, Ediquil. Let him try, just this once. He expressed his dissatisfaction. Commander, do you really trust this naive kid? He's just wasting everyone's time. Rayon didn't bother with his nagging. He closed his eyes and focused on extending his senses. Each line of aura dispersed, and Rayon sensed movements within the area. Ediquil snorted coldly. What are you looking at? If you can't do it, then stop wasting our time. Stand up. The words Rayon spoke next left him stunned, and found them. Ediquil's eyes widened in disbelief. What? Based on Rayon's reconnaissance, they are near the Ice Valley, north of Mount Sterling. The moment he finished speaking, Ediquil jumped up, growling, You brat. You think this mission is a joke. You mean to say you've pinpointed their exact location? Rayon replied calmly, Yes, I am certain. Is there a problem? Ediquil immediately went silent, gritting his teeth at him. The next moment, he shouted loudly, Do you think joking in a situation like this is funny? Can you take responsibility for your words? Rayon responded leisurely, I'm not foolish enough to joke in situations like this. Even Tarion couldn't tolerate his attitude. Ediquil, calm down, you're going too far. He then turned to ask Rayon, how did you find the ice trolls? Rayon explained, I used a method I learned from someone who can move through forests and mountains as if they were his own home by expanding the scale of my reconnaissance of energy. Ediquil once again lunged at him. Energy reconnaissance? Do you know how far the Ice Valley is? You can't confirm it with just that. Tarion, did you hear that? You really trust what he says? He pondered for a long moment, thinking, he's right. Based on the distance, mere energy reconnaissance is not enough to be convincing, especially for a rookie with only 1 year of field experience. Tarion wasn't entirely sure, he thought, but those red eyes, they seem to see everything. Just looking at them makes me believe. Tarion suddenly recalled the image of the Rimmer Daya's sword, feeling shaken. Moreover, only one person in Zeegard is famous for moving through forests and mountains as if they were his own home. If he learned from that man, then perhaps he is trustworthy. At that moment, Biteau suddenly stepped in, intrigued. After hearing more, I'm interested too. He smiled and said, Rayon, how long will it take to get there? Rayon answered, 30 minutes to arrive, and perhaps 10 more to find a favorable position. Hearing this, the smile on Biteau's face immediately froze. He's found a place to ambush them. Then he decisively spoke. Commander, we still have 2 hours before nightfall. It seems we have enough time. Let's go and check it out. Ediquil angrily jumped up. Biteau, you too? Was that rookie bribing you or what? Tarion didn't bother arguing, gesturing to command, Everyone, prepare to move. We will climb Mount Sterling. Ediquil's jaw dropped in shock. Commander. Tarion made his stance clear. If night falls, the monsters could attack, and it would be even more dangerous. If what Rayon said is correct, then this is our chance to prevent that. He gritted his teeth, truly unable to object. Rayon slowly stepped beside him, asking, Still don't believe me? He got straight to the point. So how about this? Let's place a bet, so we can accept an unchangeable outcome. Ediquil furrowed his brow. A bet? A bet on what? The corner of Rayon's mouth curved up. If I find the trolls, then from now on, the snow attack team will have to speak respectfully to the scout team, and you will have to carry your own gear, our gear as well, and help us with a few chores. Ediquil scoffed, responding arrogantly, and if you're wrong, Rayon's expression remained calm, patting his chest confidently. Then I will follow your orders. Having received the answer he wanted, Ediquil immediately flicked his sleeve and left. Fine, I accept the bet. You better prepare for failure. After this you won't be so talkative again. Tyrion, on this side, finished preparations, looking back at the commander. All right, let's move to the Ice Valley. Their movements had already caught someone's attention. A figure quietly hiding in a high corner, observing everything. The man wore a full black cloak, muttering suspiciously in a low voice. Why are they climbing up? In the end, he felt uneasy. This is not part of the plan. This black-cloaked figure had realized one thing. Those bastards are circling to reach an ambush point for the trolls. They clearly know the exact location of the trolls. Observing the current situation, he suddenly fell into panic. But I erased all traces of the trolls. How did they find the trolls hiding in the valley? In such a frozen place, even a lifelong scout couldn't find them. The black-cloaked man thought to himself, if this continues, they will face the ice trolls sooner than expected. That will be a problem. Thinking this, he silently resolved, I have to hold them off longer so my plan can succeed. He ran into a bit of trouble, but it was too late to relocate the trolls. What should I do now? Not knowing what he was thinking, the black-cloaked man suddenly smirked, his face full of cunning. Wait a moment. He tightly held the goblin mask in his hand, nodding slightly. Actually, this might be even better. Not long after, Ediquil finally had to gape in shock. How could this happen? As soon as they reached the location Rayon had indicated, the scene that met his eyes left him stunned. There really was a group of trolls here. Ediquil began to panic, breaking into a cold sweat. Impossible. How did he find the trolls from that distance? Before he could even recover, Rayon spoke up. You haven't forgotten our deal, have you? Ediquil immediately jumped in surprise. Rayon kindly reminded him, after this battle, the snow assault team will handle all the chores. You are the captain of a team. I hope you won't go back on your word. Ediquil ground his teeth in frustration, that arrogant brat, but before they could explode at each other, Tyrion directly interrupted. Enough. He sternly reminded them, unbelievable as it is. We are extremely lucky to have found the trolls thanks to Rayon's senses. Now we still have work to do. Following Tyrion's command, the entire group immediately assumed combat positions. All units prepared to engage. Target, load. The next moment, he waved his hand and shouted loudly, Fire at will. In the blink of an eye, a barrage of arrows rained down on the gathered ice trolls. Fresh blood splattered red against the white snow. Tyrion charged into battle first, shouting, Their movements are hindered. Don't give them a second to recover. He guided everyone. If left alone, the trolls will regenerate. Aim for their necks and hearts. All members plunged into combat under Tyrion's command. He ordered, leaving no one alive. The sounds of slaughter and battle cries echoed throughout the area. On the left, holding the formation, Rayon quietly observed the scene, witnessing how they coordinated their movements. These were undoubtedly veterans, using their formation effectively to suppress the ice trolls. You noticed something unusual, but Bateau, when fighting, completely became a different person. Just a moment ago he was fairly calm, but now there was a different light in his eyes. That uneasy feeling I had before, could it be because that tendency was leaking out? Dorian, seeing you standing still, found it strange. Rayon, why are you just standing there? He couldn't help but be anxious. Normally he wouldn't be able to restrain himself and would have charged in. So why is he so calm today? Rayon calmly replied, Our mission is to protect the scouts. We should remain at our current position. And, he suddenly added, I have my own opponent. Dorian's eyes widened in shock. What? A moment later, a few ice trolls charged toward the scout team. Someone immediately shouted, Scouts, do not advance, only provide support from behind. Raiden took command of the team. Those with swords had to block the trolls from the front, while those with crossbows distracted them. He secretly felt relieved. The battle was going much better than usual. From Raiden's observation, they had dominated the trolls from the start with the ambush. The trolls had not yet regained their momentum and were very confused. At this moment, he felt a surge of excitement. all thanks to the new soldier Rayon. Raiden was thinking to himself that when he returned, he should buy one. At that moment, he suddenly sensed something. His face immediately went pale. Raiden quickly turned around, his eyes full of horror. That feeling. The guttural growl drew closer, and the bodies of two giant creatures came into view. Their sudden appearance left Raiden stunned, a frost troll warrior and a mage. He froze, wondering how and then the frost troll suddenly lunged toward him. Raiden gripped the hilt of his sword tightly, staring at it. I can't dodge. At this critical moment, Tarion rushed over in time to pull him back, while Bateau assisted in the attack, blocking the frost troll's strike. They stood in front of Raiden. Tarion sternly reminded him, "Focus, Raiden, or you'll die." He stammered in response, "Okay, I understand." Bateau chuckled softly, "Damn, that's what a real warrior is like." Immediately after, a snow whirlwind surged toward them, and Tarion and Bateau quickly assumed defensive positions. The opponent's method of attack visibly irritated Tarion, who clicked his tongue in frustration. He looked toward the distance, the mage supported with magic from above. If I have to watch him while fighting, it will be very difficult to maneuver. Thinking this, Tarion loudly warned everyone, all units, to remain vigilant and alert. He quickly laid out the strategy. Ediquil and the Snow Strike team would control the warrior Bateau was facing. The scout team would disrupt the mage's spellcasting. Everyone immediately agreed. "Yes, sir." Raiden commanded his team members, scouts, understood, reloaded your crossbows, and, at that moment, a deep, low voice suddenly rang out, "Ice arrows." No sooner had it spoken than countless ice-tipped arrows rained down on the scout team. Everything happened so abruptly that no one had time to react, except to see Rayon swing his sword and charge forward. The enemy's assault was effortlessly neutralized by him. Rayon snorted coldly, "Finally, you've decided to show yourself." Raiden had not yet understood what had just happened. "Rayon, what was that just now?" Immediately afterward, the black-clad figure stepped into the light. The kid had touched my magic. Standing between the frost troll and the mage, he smiled slyly and said, "And the vice commander understood the situation and issued brilliant strategic orders. Both of you are truly remarkable." Tarion roared angrily. "I thought the movements with the trolls were strange, but it turns out it was you bastards." He shouted loudly, "Eden." Yes, the black-clad figure standing before them now is Eden Lam Lin. The figure casually shrugged, casting a curse, the Ice Phantom curse. "Do not get too excited," Lam Lin boldly declared. "I will not let a single one of you survive." With that, everyone present immediately felt their bodies grow heavy. Bateau's knees buckled, and even Ediquil fell into the same state, his face turning pale. I suddenly felt cold and my body couldn't move. Lam Lin calmly admired the results of his work, smirking, "For the sake of our great restoration plan." Standing high above, he arrogantly proclaimed, "Today, I will take your lives." Streams of black energy surged and twisted upward. Lam Lin convinced himself of his victory, laughing loudly, dying. However, things did not go as Lam Lin predicted. Rayon suddenly leapt forward. Swinging his sword with a decisive strike, Lam Lin froze in shock. "What? How can you move under my curse?" Rayon gripped the hilt tightly. Each word gritted out. "You will not know. I have lived my whole life under a curse stronger than yours, and in even harsher cold." In the blink of an eye, Rayon unleashed a flurry of precise strikes. Lam Lin's body was torn apart. Blood splattering across the white snow, the heavy figure collapsed, and Rayon landed steadily, remarking coolly, "Relying too much on a curse weakens your close combat ability noticeably." He then leisurely sheathed his sword. Ediquil was stunned. The curse has been broken. How could he have shattered a curse that even the vice commander could not overcome without killing Lam Lin? Tarion immediately rallied. "Everyone, we are still in battle. Suppress the remaining trolls before they can regroup." The team quickly responded, obeying his command. Soon, the mountain was filled only with the clashing of swords. After the fight, Tarion confronted Lam Lin, his face stern. "You must be very displeased. After all you have done, you have not killed a single person. Now tell me why you ambushed us, and I will grant you a bit of mercy before ending your life painlessly." Lam Lin chuckled coldly. "Mercy." He strained to speak. "I do not need it. In fact, all of you should want to kill me as quickly as possible." Tyrion froze. "What?" Lam Lin continued, revealing more. "My motive from the start was to divide the Havon Castle forces. Since you are here, I will give you a gift, thanks to your pitiful compassion." At the same time, the scouts quickly noticed something unusual. Over there, could that be Havon Castle? The next moment, a tremendous explosion erupted just behind Tyrion. Lam Lin watched with satisfaction, the fear etched on Tyrion's face. "Havon Castle will collapse in this battle." Tyrion looked doubtful. "Why do you say we should have killed you?" Lam Lin said. "Thanks to your foolish compassion. Havon Castle will collapse in this battle." He laughed gleefully. "Even if you do not want it, you will see soon enough." Tyrion grew even more confused. "What?" At that moment, Ediquil panicked and shouted, "Lord Tyrion, look behind." Tyrion hurriedly turned around, just in time to see smoke rising from Havon Castle. His pupils immediately contracted, lips moving but unable to speak. What the hell? Even Raiden could not believe his eyes. But Havon Castle is supposed to be an impregnable fortress. Lam Ling curled his lips in a sinister smile. "The original plan was to use you to lure Milland out here, but things did not go as planned. So with a backup plan, before you arrived here," he revealed, "I used a spell to release the troll army into Havon Castle." Saying this, Lam Ling threw his head back and laughed joyfully. Surely they have smashed the inside of Havon Castle by now. His mocking attitude made Tyrion fume. He furiously punched the side of Lam Ling's face. Tyrion grabbed Lam Ling by the collar, each word gritted out. "Stop talking nonsense. Lam Ling, Havon Castle will not collapse. Only a few trolls have gotten in." Rayon silently observed the situation, inwardly agreeing. Tyrion is not wrong. He was certain that even if the elite forces of Havon Castle were here, Commander Milland was still inside. You cannot destroy Havon Castle with ordinary ice trolls. Yet no one expected that upon hearing this, Lam Ling would laugh maniacally. He showed a smug expression, blurted out, as if only ice trolls were there. No sooner had he spoken, the ground suddenly shook, and the bodies of those present staggered. Ediquil was also astonished. The ground suddenly trembled. Bateau looked around in confusion. "Isn't this an earthquake?" Rayon keenly noticed something unusual. This was not an ordinary earthquake. It was impossible. At that moment, Lam Ling suddenly exclaimed, "Do you really think Eden prepared so sloppily? You are merely dancing in the palm of my hand." He spoke increasingly fervently. "The only thing you can do now is watch the collapse of Havon Castle from afar." Seeing Tyrion's furious expression, Lam Ling laughed with delight. "Arrogant bastards, you will fall into despair." He could not hold back any longer, decisively drew his sword and cut across Lam Ling's throat. Blood spurted out, and the shrill laughter fell silent. Ediquil stammered, calling him Deputy Commander Tyrion. He only sternly ordered, "Inform all units, return to Havon Castle immediately." Tyrion's face covered in blood, his expression gradually turned solemn. Switching to the situation at Havon Castle, thick columns of smoke rose. The fire had nearly consumed everything. Amid the emergency, a stern voice rang out, prioritizing evacuating the civilians first. Milland took command of the situation. The first team should extinguish the fire, and the second team block the ice trolls. Tyrion arrived just in time. "Commander, the exploration units have returned." The other nodded in satisfaction. "Well done, Tyrion." He summarized the situation. "Currently, we are ambushed by a pack of ice trolls. Did you find anything unusual during the exploration?" Tyrion nodded slightly. "Indeed, we have matters to report, so we must return immediately." He explained, "This ambush was caused by Eden." Milland paused for a moment. "Indeed, something is off." "Understood. So it was caused by Eden." Tyrion recounted the full story. "We have eliminated Lam Ling, the one who summoned the ice trolls, but after hearing him speak, and with this earthquake, it seems their plan involves more than just the trolls." Milland murmured, "But something was very strange." He could not understand. They gain nothing by targeting Havon Castle like this. Tyrion interjected, "Excuse me, we still have not discovered their true purpose." However, he reported, due to their interference, the beast tide will occur earlier than expected. According to Tyrion's reasoning, the traces of the ice trolls and monsters were gathered by them, and the recent earthquake, most likely they are generating the beast tide aimed at this location. He said that the walls would have to face the beast tide, and no matter how talented the kids were, if they made a single mistake, they would die. Tyrion replied slowly, "I understand your concerns, Commander." His next words shocked Millen. However, Rhaon had defeated Lam Lin in a single strike. Tyrion emphasized that Dorian had returned from this expedition unharmed, and although the two of them had initially left a poor impression, there was no reason to underestimate their abilities, so trust me this time. Millen pondered for a moment, then decided to step forward in front of the two of them. "Rhaon, I will give you orders," he announced firmly. "Go up the walls and protect Havon with us." Rhaon had been waiting for this moment, raising his voice in response. "Understood, I will follow your orders." In the following moments, the cold wind continuously swept against the cracked walls. Millen asked, "Recon, how are the enemy movements? Have you seen anything new?" Tyrion turned stiffly, his face pale. "Commander, the scale is enormous. The beast tide." He stepped forward quickly to observe, feeling anxious. What could make him answer like that? But as soon as he saw the full scene, Millen's pupils contracted instantly, his lips moving without words. This is Bato's group was also stunned. "Ediquil, have you ever seen the beast tide like this?" He shook his head. "No, this is the first time I've seen it." Seeing everyone's agitated reactions, Rhaon quickly moved to the walls to take a closer look. At this moment, he suddenly recalled Rimmer's previous words. "And Rhaon, you will go north, Havon Castle, an endless battlefield where you will fight monsters from the North Sea and Stirling Mountains every day. They said it is a hellish battlefield because you will never have the chance to put your sword down." His voice echoed in Rhaon's ears, "And others will also face difficulties, but you will face a little more." Watching layer upon layer of monsters pour in, at this moment, Rhaon truly began to understand the meaning behind those words. Millen asked, "What is the scale of this wave?" Tyrion reported, "We have identified 1,000 of them, but with the continuous advance, I'm afraid the real number must be in the tens of thousands. This is also the first time I've seen such a large number." Rhaon swallowed dryly, thinking to himself, "Those words are not wrong, so many that even my senses cannot count them all. This is a wave attacking Havon Castle." Millen suddenly called his name. "Rhaon, do you know anything about the waves?" He flinched slightly, quickly replying, "Yes, at least I know a little about them." According to Rhaon's understanding, during the process of repelling a wave, there are always countless casualties. The reason for continuous reconnaissance and exploration is to prepare for the waves and minimize losses, even if only slightly. One must know that the walls can be rebuilt if destroyed, new gates can be erected again, but the dead cannot return. Millen nodded in agreement, carefully instructing Rhaon. "Therefore, please protect as many soldiers as possible. That is your mission." Rhaon understood the meaning behind those words, nodding firmly with determination. "I understand." A sudden insane roar echoed. Millen sighed. "It seems we no longer have time to talk." He turned to the soldiers. "All of you, raise your swords high. I understand that everyone is terrified by the scale of this wave." Millen paused for a moment. "However, this is a challenge that anyone who is trained at Havon Castle can overcome. As always, we will endure and prevail." He raised his sword high. "Let us celebrate together once this is over." Everyone quickly took their positions at his command, shielded soldiers and regular soldiers to the front line of the walls, archers taking positions on the battlements. Seeing the formation complete, Millen waved his hand and shouted loudly, "Fire!" Below the fortress, the orcs opened their jaws and bared their teeth, their heavy steps bringing them ever closer. In response, a dense rain of arrows flew. The entire space suddenly darkened. With no way to dodge, the orcs were pierced through by the arrows. the scene of bloodshed looking truly horrific. Roars of pain echoed as the massive creatures fell strewn across the white snow, the air thick with the scent of fresh blood. Observing the situation through binoculars, a member of the reconnaissance team suddenly shouted, "Wait, look!" Urgent news was relayed. An elite orc was charging forward. The warrior tracked the orc's movements closely. "Horrible, it's aiming for the gate. Stop it quickly, arrows won't work." At the critical moment, a burst of radiant energy suddenly shot out, engulfing the elite orc. Milland was the one who acted, rallying the troops. "Do not be afraid and hold the formation. I will protect this gate." The others gradually calmed, shouting to each other, "Everyone, stay alert. Commander Milland is fighting alongside us." Returning to the situation with the orcs, someone reported in panic, "They're climbing the walls. Stop them. Do not let them pass." The soldiers obeyed the orders, and as soon as they reached the top, shot arrows to knock them down. Yet one orc still slipped through the siege. A soldier fell backward in shock, screaming, "An orc has climbed over. Help me." Rayon arrived just in time, swinging his sword to slice through the orc before it could act. He asked the soldier, "Are you hurt here?" The other stammered, "No, thank you." Rayon's clothes were soaked in blood. He panted, "This is truly hell, even though I feel like I've killed several hundred." But their numbers have not decreased at all. Rayon looked down at the wave of monsters below the walls in horror. There was no time for idle thoughts. A low voice suddenly sounded, attracting his attention. All units prepared for battle. A monster was approaching from the right side of the castle. Immediately after, a thunderous explosion erupted, smoke and fire blazing in one corner of the castle. Rayon lost his balance and fell, letting out a painful hiss. Suicide monsters with explosives as well. "Are the soldiers okay?" In the next moment, he heard desperate screams, quickly glancing over. What met Rayon's eyes was the scene of soldiers lying scattered in pools of blood, cries of pain ringing out, "My leg, my arm, where is my arm?" He flinched, thinking, were they caught in the explosion and thrown off the walls? Then he hastily jumped to his feet. "Wait there, I will." Before he could act, a voice reached his ears. "Don't go, Rayon." He froze instantly. This was a signal. It was Commander Milland. He used sound transmission to announce, "Protect the sections of the wall that have not collapsed yet. If you only focus on trivial things, the larger structures will fall. You must endure." Rayon could not deny that it was the right decision. If they abandoned the walls to rescue the injured, the defensive system concentrated here would also collapse. However, the image of the soldiers lying strewn across the cold ground kept flashing before his eyes. Their bodies were soaked in blood, yet clearly some still had a chance to survive. Rayon finally could not bear it, biting his lip, frozen for a long moment. "Myself. I am not the commander," Rayon reminded himself, his hand gripping the sword at his side. Thinking this, he resolutely leapt from the wall. His task was to prevent the soldiers of Havon Castle from dying. Rayon landed firmly. Before him thousands of monsters were poised to charge. The Imperial elite had just appeared, scolding. "Are you insane? Did you think before jumping down? Do you think you can hold out while protecting the soldiers below?" Rayon replied calmly, "It will be difficult." Yet that was not a reason to give up. "I must push all my senses to the limit and try." The Imperial elite frowned. "Fool, I never expected you to make such an emotional decision. The only thing waiting for you ahead is death like a dog." Rayon could not argue. An emotional decision. Yes, that is true, although the right thing to do in this situation would have been to retreat. He gripped both swords tightly, telling himself, "In this life, I have sworn that I will live not as an assassin, but as a swordsman." Thinking this, Rayon declared loudly, "Before I fall, not a single one will pass me." He resolved internally, "I will endure with all my strength and survive out of this hell." In the next instant, Rayon leapt without hesitation toward the orc before him. What happened after that? The battle continued without a single moment of rest. He slashed, slashed again, and slashed once more. He did nothing but slash continuously. During that time, the skin on Rayon's hands was torn, soaked with blood. He had used his aura to the very last of his strength. And then, the only sensation left in his hands was the sword tearing through flesh. The bodies of the orcs Rayon had slain piled up. The only thing remaining in his sight was the deep red of blood. Rayon continued wildly swinging his swords without pause, his entire body reeking of fresh blood. He charged into the midst of countless massive orcs. They surged forward in waves. Rayon did not concern himself with anything else, focusing only on fighting. And then, as time passed, under the blood-stained night sky, the moon rose high and began to wane, while the first light of dawn began to break. The white snow had long since been dyed red, and he stood amid the battlefield littered with the corpses of monsters. Rayon's eyes revealed exhaustion, yet not a single monster remained before him. The situation on the battlefield at Havon Castle had been fully monitored. The crystal orb clearly displayed Rayon's face, and a mysterious voice softly called his name, Rayon Zeekart. She suddenly laughed. My original goal was the destruction of Havon Castle, and to obtain the host body. She paused for a moment, intently observing Rayon's image in the glass orb, speaking with delight. But I unexpectedly received a bountiful gift. Time passed, though it was unclear how long, and the scene shifted back to Havon Castle, where warm sunlight streamed through a windowpane. Rayon suddenly jolted awake, sitting up with a look of bewilderment. He glanced around. What happened? I remember the castle walls had fallen, and I stood still until the cavern was opened. Before he could comprehend what was happening, a figure suddenly stepped inside, anxiously calling his name, Rayon. Seeing Yua at the doorway, he looked slightly dazed, hesitatingly speaking. She is. She teared up, looking at Rayon, her voice choked with emotion. You've finally woken up. Not long after, Dorian entered, recounting the current situation to him. Seriously, everyone was very worried because you hadn't woken up at all. Speaking of which, he couldn't help but sigh. You showed no reaction despite everything we did over the past 3 days, so we thought you were dead. Rayon could only give a sheepish smile, sorry for causing trouble, and thank you for taking care of me, Dorian. He gently shook his head, the one you should really thank is not me, but Yua. Rayon blinked, slightly embarrassed. Huh. Dorian then explained, Yua had been by your side, taking care of you every day until the attack was over. He added, she was very worried about you, and since she also had to work at the tavern, she must have been very busy. Just as he finished speaking, Yua gently stepped in. Rayon, I made some soup for you. She said warmly, you're still recovering, so I used soft and easily digestible ingredients, ate slowly, it's still hot. Rayon was silent for a long moment, and finally called out, Yua. She looked puzzled. Oh. He sincerely expressed his gratitude. Thank you for taking care of me every day. Yua smiled brightly, replying modestly, oh, it's nothing. Providing extra care for regular guests is just basic hospitality for any business. Once you've fully recovered, come to the tavern and help boost sales. Rayon slowly got out of bed and proactively suggested, also, why don't we eat at the Dark Branch tonight? I've been eating bland food for too long. Today I want something a bit greasy. Dorian then suddenly remembered something. But first, you need to show everyone that you're fully recovered. Rayon looked puzzled. Show them? Who are they? Dorian went ahead and opened the door, smiling mischievously. Of course, it's those who have been waiting for you. Rayon frowned slightly. Why are you making it sound like a big deal? But just as he stepped outside, cheers of excitement rang out. The hero of Havon Castle had woken up. Rayon froze. Ha! The warriors standing before him eagerly exclaimed, You've finally woken up. Rayon, thanks to you, Havon Castle has been protected. I was really worried when I heard you might not wake up. Rayon, thank you for saving my comrades. When you charged in like that, I thought you'd gone mad, but you were truly magnificent. Rayon had barely regained his composure when they enthusiastically shouted, Today I treat you. I will never forget this favor. Milland was also present, smiling softly. I'm glad you're all right, Rayon. He was surprised, Commander Milland. He spoke sincerely. This attack was unlike any we've faced before. It started earlier than expected and on a larger scale. Normally, we would have suffered significant losses. Millen still vividly remembered that day's scene. Rayon had not hesitated for a moment and immediately jumped off the wall. He truly felt grateful. Thanks to Rayon's decisiveness and courage, no losses occurred during this attack because he was at the forefront protecting us. Reflecting on the events, Millen solemnly said, "You came here as a mercenary, but we all owe you our gratitude. On behalf of Havon Castle, I extend my deepest thanks." Tarion quickly added, "And Edequil also has something to say to you." Rayon was slightly surprised, thinking, Edequil has something to say to me. With Rayon's astonished gaze, Edequil spoke. "Rayon, I've misunderstood you all this time." He confided, "I thought you were just a rookie mercenary, so even after witnessing your skills, I still underestimated you." At this, Edequil avoided Rayon's eyes, lowering his gaze, "But the way you jumped off the wall to protect our comrades, that was the image of a true swordsman. That is the nobility and resilience of a swordsman that we've always strived for." He bowed deeply before Rayon. "I sincerely apologize for my behavior until now." Millen smiled to lighten the atmosphere. "Everyone, all of you have worked hard to repel the attack. To celebrate this unexpected victory, we will hold a festival. We will provide food at the Ice Branch, and for 3 days everyone can eat, drink, and enjoy themselves to the fullest." The crowd immediately erupted with excitement. The warriors cheered, "Commander, when did you prepare all this?" Some even expressed their awe. "This is the first time something like this has happened since I arrived at Havon Castle." Soon after, they all shouted in unison, "Come on everyone, let's head to the Ice Branch. For the next 3 days, drink as if we have died and come back to life." Someone immediately shouted, "Wait for me. Where do you think you're going without us?" Seeing them playfully having fun, a faint smile curved Rayon's lips. Millen turned to look at him. "Rayon, you should come along too. I will join after meeting with the other officers." Then he urged, "Deputy Commander and Army Captains, follow me." Dorian cheerfully called to Rayon, "Young master, what are you doing? We should go too and start the feast." Warm rays of sunlight bathed Havon Castle, the scenery looking truly peaceful. In a room, Millen folded his arms and asked, "You're not just going to give Rayon a passing compliment and leave it at that, are you?" Tarion smiled, "Of course not. We'll give him the most valuable reward and the finest compensation. Rayon has saved so many lives." Millen spoke plainly. I want to give him something even more valuable than gold." His words left Tarion puzzled. Something more valuable than gold. Millen did not hide it, declaring firmly, "I intend to give him a creation of Havon Castle." Raiden's eyes widened in astonishment. "You mean the White Fang snow sword, the symbol of the castle?" Even Tarion was taken aback, stammering, "Don't tell me you intend to make Rayon the next master of Havon Castle." Millen replied seriously, "Don't be ridiculous. That sword is a symbol, not a creation. Rayon will receive something else." Raiden finally exhaled. Not wanting to keep them guessing, Millen revealed, "What I intend to give Rayon is this." Looking at the chest before them, Tarion was momentarily stunned. "This is..." Millen nodded in confirmation. "Yes, it is armor made from the mana stones of the Orc Lord, called the White Spirit Armor. A brief introduction, it is a creation of Havon Castle, the White Spirit Armor, a type of under-armor worn beneath outer garments." He explained, "It is said to be more valuable than even the White Fang snow sword, the symbol of the castle, but considering what Rayon has done for us, this is the least we can do." Millen's gaze reflected deep appreciation. He risked himself to save others, and I will feel relieved only if he can be protected with this. Raiden enthusiastically supported the idea. "I agree, it will be a perfect gift." Tarion also nodded. "Considering the number of lives Rayon has saved, this item is truly nothing in comparison." Edequil, who had been silently standing aside, suddenly spoke up. "Commander, I have a question." Millen immediately allowed, "Go ahead, Edequil." His question brought silence to the entire room. "Rayon is not an ordinary mercenary, is he?" Ediquil had long suspected it. The martial skills he uses are not simple. No matter how talented he is, an ordinary mercenary could not achieve that level. I have known for some time that he is not an ordinary mercenary, but I think now it is time for you to tell us the truth. Milland replied reluctantly, I apologize, but there are still reasons why I cannot tell you everything yet. But I promise you this. He emphasized that Child has always been honest with us from the very beginning. Milland assured them that one day, the moment Rayon chooses to reveal his identity will come. He is not someone controlled by the shadows, so he need not worry. He let out a soft chuckle. Well then, for now, let's just enjoy the festival. Let's celebrate the birth of a hero. It was another cold day at Havon Castle, with snow blanketing the roads and treetops. Rayon sat gazing at the mountain before him, thinking to himself, 10 months have passed since I arrived at Havon Castle. Honestly, it feels both long and short. So much has happened over these 10 months, and I have accomplished a great deal. One notable achievement is that, thanks to the soul sword he received from Kuberud, Rayon had learned to control spiritual energy. Additionally, he had survived the wave of monsters at Havon Castle, the so-called Hell battlefield. In the 6 months following the end of that wave, Rayon had learned a new way to wield Glacia. And at this present moment, having gone through all of that, everyone at Havon Castle had become his trusted comrades. Rayon enjoyed the cool wind of the place, thinking that perhaps because he had successfully repelled the wave of monsters, the people here had begun calling him by a new nickname. As a result, without even realizing it, stories of his heroic battles had spread across the continent. The scene shifts to the northwest of the continent, the Len Desert, bustling streets crowded with people. Burin had just received the news, eyes widening in astonishment. The hero of Havon Castle. The person beside him nodded in confirmation. That's right. They say he fought until dawn to protect the wounded. People call him the hero of Havon Castle or the Demon Sword. Apparently a young blonde swordsman who earned such a title at his age. Quite impressive. Upon hearing this, Burin immediately recognized him, Rayon Zeeghart. He's growing stronger. He noticed the hand gripping the edge of Burin's cloak, eyes flashing with a calculating gleam. He slowly sat down beside him. Burin, are you the one he wants to surpass? Burin was momentarily stunned, then honestly admitted, yes, that is correct. The person beside him asked, then why do you look so excited? Shouldn't you be angry or sad that the one you are trying to catch up with has become stronger than before? Burin candidly shared, no, actually I am very happy. If I can catch up with him moment by moment, it will be much more worthwhile. Saying this, he smiled brightly. The stronger he becomes, the stronger I will also become. Listening to Burin's sincere words, the corner of the other person's mouth slightly curved up. He laughed. You two are really close. I am so jealous. Burin embarrassedly denied. Close? No way. He is my rival. The scene shifted to another place in the northwest continent, Levine Desert. A voice exclaimed in astonishment. What? Martha, exhausted, hurriedly asked. A blonde swordsman known as the hero of Havon Castle. The man opposite laughed. Yes, it is said that thanks to him they were able to stop the wave of monsters. I thought you would want to know because you are always curious about the situation there. Martha sighed deeply. I know he will become stronger. But how strong has he really become, that damn guy? The other tried to console her. The rumors might be exaggerated. I don't know who he really is, but surely you are now stronger than him. He glanced around, smiling slightly. The corpses of the monsters behind you are proof. Yet that was not enough to reassure Martha. She seriously emphasized, no, he is the real monster. This is still nothing. Martha gritted her teeth, clenching her fists. I can feel that even now he is still getting stronger. Her excited reaction made the other even more interested, really curious. Who is he that can push her to exert herself like this? Martha then said, he is the savior who saved my life, and also the rival I want to defeat. The scene shifted to Katam Forest inside the base. Several women sat around Runnan. One of them exclaimed in disbelief, I know there will be people supporting from the walls. But does it make sense for one person to jump into the arena to protect all the wounded? Immediately, someone agreed, it must be just a rumor. How could a kid do that? The story quickly reached Runan. Runan, wasn't that your friend? What do you think? She smiled broadly and replied, I think the rumor is accurate. He definitely has the ability to do that. Hearing this, the short-haired girl looked doubtful. Runan, just how strong he is. I have a feeling he's even weaker than you. She shook her head slightly. No, he is stronger than me both physically and mentally. The other blurted out. Huh, are you kidding? They couldn't believe it. Someone stronger than me. The short-haired girl nodded in agreement. Yes, it only took me 6 hours to get through this forest. Even experienced warriors would take 8 hours. At that moment, another person suddenly appeared, smiling slyly. Whenever you mention him, the atmosphere around you changes. Is he your rival or something? Did you come here to become stronger than him? Runan replied softly. No, I didn't come here to be stronger than him. The other looked even more puzzled. Then why? Speaking of the original reason, she lowered her gaze. The corner of her mouth curved slightly. Because I want to become strong enough to stand by and support him. I don't want to be a burden, I want to be able to help him. Returning to Rayon's situation, he sat in the vast emptiness, reflecting. 10 months have passed since I arrived at Havon Castle. Rayon closed his eyes, shifting into a focused state. All right, the more I use it, the more sensitive Glacia's senses become. Even now, he still marveled when using this skill. It really is an impressive power. Now I can see very far even with my eyes closed. Rayon thought to himself, no wonder Thin No got angry when I learned this skill. He clearly looked furious. It can't be like that. Glancing at him, Rayon suddenly felt something strange, but recently he has been unusually silent. He realized that it was always staring toward the peak of Sterling Mountain. I just needed to lure it into a bet or something to make it speak. While Rayon was still lost in thought, the Supreme Elite suddenly called his name. Rayon Zeekhart. He was surprised. What? The Supreme Elite then spoke proactively. Want to bet? It's been a while since we played again. Rayon immediately wondered. That's sudden. You've been quiet lately. What do you want to bet on? He replied calmly. Something simple. Then the Supreme Elite suddenly asked a question. The test for that sharp-eared guy is to survive here for a year. Right, Rayon confirmed. Yes, now there's less than 2 months left. The Supreme Elite's expression suddenly became serious. He spoke loudly. All right, we'll bet on that. I bet that in 2 months you won't survive. Rayon raised his eyebrows, face full of doubt. Are you serious? The Supreme Elite jumped up. I never lie. What's with the suspicious look on your face? Rayon bluntly replied, You've lied countless times before. He thought to himself, is he stupid? I have less than 2 months to graduate. And now the monster waves are over. Eden hardly has the ability to attack anymore. It should be known that after the sudden death of the Lamb Balkar Phantom, the army has been more thorough. If Eden were still alert, they wouldn't dare attack. All Rayon needs to do is train and wait until it's time to return. After considering for a moment, he told himself, there's no reason to refuse this bet. Thinking that, Rayon decisively agreed, all right, I accept. The Supreme Elite bared his teeth in a triumphant smile. Wise choice. Time continued to pass. A month had gone by since Rayon accepted the bet with the Supreme Elite. Each of his days went as usual, and now only 1 month remained until the test would end. Rayon thought to himself, despite the strange warnings from Fury, the peace at Havon Castle remained the same. The only thing that concerned him was that Fury still occasionally shouted towards Sterling Mountain, calling that lazy thing a name, which seemed quite different from what he had expected. Rayon fell into deep thought. Then at that moment, he suddenly saw something in the sky. Under the sunset, countless crows flapped their wings, forming a dense black line across the sky. A sense of unease rose in Rayon's heart. A flock of crows, so many of them. Could it be that monsters have appeared somewhere? Before he could understand what was happening, something else caught his attention. What is that? Rayon stepped aside, bending down to look. He only saw a frog lying on its back near his feet. Rayon was surprised. A frog? He felt puzzled. Why is there a frog here? This area is too cold for a frog to survive before summer even arrives. Rayon suddenly felt anxious, standing frozen in place. Nearby, a water spout was not fully closed. A drop of water was about to fall. The moment the water dripped into the wooden barrel below, the water's surface suddenly rippled. The next instant, the ground around the area shook violently. People panicked, rushing to flee. What's happening? Is it an earthquake? At that very moment, the long silent alarm bells suddenly rang continuously. A panicked voice echoed near Rayon and Milland. The monster waves have arrived. Tarion and Raiden were equally stunned. The alarm had been raised. The monsters had arrived. The soldiers immediately stirred. What's going on? This is not the season for monster waves. But some remained calm enough to urgently command everyone, quickly prepare and get to the walls. Raiden spoke, urging Rayon, get ready. We have to go together. And of course he obeyed. Yes, sir, let's go. The two hurried off, and Raiden anxiously added, we'll try to alert the others along the way. There's no time to wait. In the blink of an eye, the entire street was empty. Rayon had no chance to notice the black aura rising from the frog earlier. Switching to the battlefield, the soldiers actively engaged. Over here too. I need more support here, someone exclaimed. Damn it. The scale is just like before. Shouts rang out from all directions. They have broken through the encirclement. I need support. Even Tarion felt uneasy. General Eden is behind this too. Otherwise this doesn't make sense at all. Rayon had another thought. No, this is different from before. I don't sense killing intent or madness from these monsters. It's more like... Even he could not believe the thought that crossed his mind. They were trying to flee from something dangerous that could kill them. While Rayon was in a panic, the Supreme Elite suddenly appeared, making him startle. Over here too. I told you to leave this place. He smirked. This is your fate for not heeding my warning. Rayon looked puzzled. What do you mean? He urged anxiously. Explain it to me. The Supreme Elite only replied vaguely. It's too late. People still had a chance while it was asleep. But now it has noticed everyone here. It will not stop until it wipes this castle off the face of the earth and kills every single one of you. He paused for a moment. But if you present an appropriate offering, things might change. Then, the Supreme Elite returned to the form of Rayon's folded arms. Hearing this, Rayon was extremely confused, offering what exactly is coming here. He casually added, see with your own eyes. I have no obligation to tell you these things. With no other choice, Rayon turned to call the person beside him, General Milland. The general was slightly surprised. Rayon, in such a critical situation, what do you need? Rayon hesitated, asking cautiously, if we encounter an enemy we cannot defeat, do you have a plan? Milland keenly noticed something unusual. This question did not sound like a mere inquiry. Yet he still replied seriously, of course we will fight. If we cannot defend this castle, countless innocent lives will pay the price. Even if sacrifices are necessary, we must buy enough time for the people to evacuate. Milland particularly emphasized that is the reason Havon Castle exists. Hearing this, Rayon unconsciously tightened his grip on the sword hilt. He paused for a moment. Right, I still don't know what I'm facing, so I can't yet order everyone to retreat. Rayon resolved, now I need to focus on stopping this wave of monsters, then decisively swung his sword to finish off each orc. Time passed relentlessly. No one noticed when the moon had risen high. The soldiers continued attacking tirelessly. Edequil hurriedly commanded the troops. These monsters are very different. While they are stunned, push them back, and use bows and crossbows to take down the flying monsters. Rayon was actively engaged in the battle as well. Through the crumbling walls, he saw something and froze instantly. A herd of deer was stampeding in this direction. Rayon grew even more puzzled. Even the animals were running, just like the crows earlier. I remember nothing like this happened during the previous wave. Elsewhere, Milland suddenly issued an order. Tarion sent a small team to evacuate the civilians. He looked puzzled, wondering what it was. Milland offered no further explanation, impatiently urging, including the people outside the castle, to move quickly. He shouted, "There's no time left." Tyrion immediately complied. Understood. Then Milland transmitted a message directly to Rayon. "Can you hear me, Rayon? If danger arises, you need to run." Rayon froze. The aura message from the general. He quickly responded, "General, do you mean?" Milland did not answer, only entrusted a few words. "I understand your intentions now. You see things farther than I do. Your future can reach further. Protect your life for that future." He affirmed resolutely, "Your efforts at Havon Castle will not be forgotten." At that moment, memories of the past surfaced in Rayon's mind. He gritted his teeth, asking himself, "Must I run and let these people die?" Very quickly, Rayon had his answer. His eyes revealed firm determination. "No, that will not happen. I will not flee alone." At that moment, Rayon suddenly realized something. The blood in his body seemed to stop flowing. His pupils contracted, his face filled with sheer terror. Wait a moment. Nearby, a black crow stared intently in this direction, its eyes blazing red. It silently perched atop the castle, observing Rayon's horrified expression. More than 12 hours had passed. But why hasn't the sun risen yet? He wondered in confusion. A dark figure appeared, muttering in a low voice, "Too cold, too boring, I'm fed up." He walked slowly, sighing in exasperation. "But I have awakened, so there is no other choice." The one behind all the strange events had revealed himself, declaring, "I must annihilate everything." Rayon's expression immediately turned grave. He was so terrified that cold sweat poured down his face. The Essence Emperor leapt out, baring his teeth in a mocking grin. "Finally, you've sensed it. Truly a foolish one." He put on a pretentious, benevolent tone. "It's too late now, I'll tell you. The name of that lazy one is Lazy, the recipient." The Essence Emperor revealed that he is a demon king of the same level as me. His tone carried obvious pride, adding, "Also called the Lazy Monarch." According to the Essence Emperor's introduction, that slow creature was none other than the Lazy Monarch, Sloth. Milland's hand on his sword trembled in waves. What is that? He could not believe his eyes. How could such a creature exist? Seeing Milland's reaction, Rayon was immediately flustered. Even for Milland, who had reached Grandmaster level, was the presence of a demon king that was terrifying. No, more precisely because he had reached such a lofty realm, he could feel the gap between himself and it more intensely. The Essence Emperor exclaimed, "Though not as abundant as in the demon realm, it has accumulated quite a lot of energy. Not bad for someone who lazes about sleeping all day." Rayon pressed, "Why has it appeared here?" Puzzled. "Aren't you the only demon king to descend to the human world?" The Essence Emperor snorted coldly. "Even if I told you, it would be useless. With your level, you would not understand." Rayon pressed on, "So why is it here?" The Essence Emperor replied indifferently, "The reason it came here is simple. You must know that over the past year, from skirmishes to the massed one's attack, and even the reconnaissance after the wave ended, countless disturbances and shocks have reached the mountain peak. Therefore Sloth, who had been slumbering on the summit, awoke, and what is happening now is the clearest proof." From what the Essence Emperor knew, before this it would merely doze and wake, but this time it has fully awakened. He lounged and continued, "This is a good time to tell you an interesting story. It is said that the demon realm is a land of endless slaughter and insatiable desire. Someone who falls asleep outdoors in such a world is practically begging for death. Yet somehow Sloth kept sleeping on and on. How could such a being become a demon king?" The Essence Emperor gave the blunt answer, "Because it slaughtered without discriminating against anything that disturbed its sleep." According to the Essence Emperor's knowledge of Sloth, if you say anything to it or attack it, it will kill anyone who wakes it, sparing no one, for 1,000 years. Things proceeded naturally, and eventually it became a demon king of the demon realm. Hearing this, Rayon seemed to understand, mouthing, "Wait. So that means," the Essence Emperor confirmed his speculation with a single yes. He grinned with satisfaction. "That one came here to wipe out those who disturbed its sleep." Rayon held his head in despair. "Damn it. Is there no way to stop him?" The Essence Emperor laughed coldly. Here, you have no way to stop him. He kindly revealed further, if someone like me, or like your grandfather, were here, he might avoid fighting, but there is no one like that here. Rayon wondered. I thought he always killed anyone who dared to wake him, the Essence Emperor said. Winning or losing is irrelevant, as long as the battle drags on so he cannot sleep. He hates that even more. Hearing this, Rayon immediately furrowed his brow tightly. He is truly crazy. So sleep is the only thing that determines his actions. The Essence Emperor said gleefully, you only have two choices. One is to hand your body over to me so I can stop him. Two is to keep going and be destroyed. Otherwise there is no way for you and those people to survive this. Responsibility suddenly weighed heavily on Rayon's shoulders. He told himself he must decide. If he did nothing, he would begin slaughtering until everyone here died. If so, Fury would be forced to seize my body before I die, and the human world would suffer the worst scenario of two demon kings descending at once. After thinking for a while, Rayon finally made up his mind. In that case, I would rather voluntarily hand over control, on the condition that he must stop sloth. With that thought, he opened his mouth. Fury, you take over. Before he finished speaking, Milland unexpectedly stepped forward, calling his name Rayon Zeegart. His expression was more serious than usual. Rayon was slightly startled. Commander, Milland slowly spoke. I truly am grateful. A sense of unease washed over Rayon, and he hurriedly interrupted. Excuse me, what did you just say? The other continued, presenting himself with a heartfelt tone. Since you came here, things at Havon Castle began to go smoothly. The back you showed during the last attack has remained steadfast and reliable to me until now. It is time for me to become an example for others to follow. With that, he suddenly raised the sword in his hand and a burst of radiant energy flared. Rayon immediately panicked. Commander, you must be exhausted. But your aura, Milland calmly cut him off. I have lived long enough and done many things. He paused. But you are different. You are someone who can achieve far greater things in the future. Your era has not yet come. Hearing this, Rayon's emotions churned. Even in such a desperate situation he had not given up. Could it be that he was already ready to accept his end? He thought to himself, it is truly shameful that I once considered giving up. Rayon gripped the sword tightly in his hand and declared firmly, alone I cannot handle this. I will fight alongside you, Commander. Then he turned his head to the warriors behind him. Everyone, withdraw from the castle immediately. This is the order of the commander. Tarion was stunned. Rayon. He resolutely refused to leave. We cannot abandon the two of you, and once someone voices their support, we will fight to the end by your side. Milland roared angrily. Tarion, if you cannot even stand firmly, how will you fight? You should try to save even one more person. His rebuke echoed in Tarion's ears. That is not the reason for our existence. He clenched his teeth helplessly. In the end, Tarion compromised, giving the order below. All units withdraw from the walls and open the south gate. The longer we linger here, the more we will only become burdens to the two of them. He raised his voice to remind, every moment Rayon and the commander can still endure. We must save at least one more person. Commander, Rayon, you must both return safely. Others immediately echoed the same. This scene fell into the eyes of the essence of the Emperor. He only found it laughable. Please, you must survive. The meaningless struggle of the weak trying to live on brings me to tears. The essence of the Emperor spoke mockingly, affirming with certainty, but everything has already ended. Sloth stepped forward slowly, muttering in a low voice, I am tired and cold. All of this is because of you. I had to crawl all the way here. He ground his teeth with each word, his eyes filled with resentment. As he finished, a blazing red energy burst forth, surging toward the castle wall. Rayon clenched his teeth, struggling to keep his balance, inwardly terrified. What is this light? Could it be that the overwhelming power earlier was still not his full strength? The essence of the Emperor seized the chance to tempt him. I already told you. You only have two choices. If you want to stop him, then hand your body to me quickly. Rayon forced his eyes open, reminding himself, no, I still cannot hand myself over to wrath. I may be desperate, but everything is not completely over yet. If I gather everything I have known until now, surely I will find a way." He desperately searched for the keywords in each word the enemy had just spoken. Cold, sleepy, equal power, simple, time, troublesome. It seemed that Rayon had grasped some clue. His eyes suddenly widened. The essence of the Emperor smiled slyly. "So you have finally decided. Now just surrender." The boy interrupted directly. "Wrath, let us make a deal." He had not foreseen this situation, blurting out, "What, did you say deal?" Rayon explained more specifically, "I will take on your wrath, so give me the power to face him." The Essence Emperor sneered, "Useless. Even if you confront him, it will change nothing. And this deal brings me no profit." Rayon remained stubborn, his tone menacingly implied, "What if I would rather die than hand my body to you?" That statement struck the Essence Emperor at his core. He glared at Rayon aggressively. "Nonsense," Rayon repeated again. "You have been watching me all along. Do you still not understand? Just as you never lie, I never speak in vain. If you refuse this deal, then the two of us will die together here." He added one more bargaining clause, "and if my method fails, I will immediately give my body to you." The Essence Emperor ground his teeth. At that moment Rayon saw Milland showing signs of exhaustion. He slumped, sensing the urgency. Rayon shouted at the Essence Emperor, "Answer now, yes or no." The Essence Emperor became flustered to the point of sweating, swearing through his teeth. Damn it, with no other choice, he transferred energy to Rayon, barking loudly, "You will pay for this." In the next instant Sloth immediately sensed the change from across the field. His gaze fixed on Rayon standing on the wall. He muttered in a low voice, "This energy." Rayon spoke up first. "This trash like you dares to make trouble in this peaceful place." His face solemn, he declared loudly, "This is the domain of the Lord of Wrath." His following introduction left the Essence Emperor stunned. "And I am the vessel that holds the Lord of Wrath." He snapped angrily, "Vessel of Wrath? Why are you the Vessel of Wrath? What the hell do you think you are doing?" Rayon did not bother arguing with the Essence Emperor, thinking to himself, "What do you think? Punish you for daring to provoke me." He intently watched Sloth opposite, muttering one sentence, and conveniently took care of one more fool. The Essence Emperor still would not stop provoking. "What nonsense is this? Why are you my vessel?" he grumbled bitterly. "And you even call this shabby castle my domain." Rayon felt a headache coming on. "I have not finished speaking yet, so please shut up." Sloth probed, "You are the Vessel of Wrath?" Rayon confirmed, "Yes, and right now Wrath is furious because you dared to trespass on his territory." The Essence Emperor snapped angrily, "Stop spouting nonsense. Why do you keep saying things I never said?" This was exactly what Rayon expected. "Yes, be angry, Wrath. It is pointless for you to object." He glanced at Sloth and thought to himself, "In the end only that one could sense wrath through the bewilderment you direct at me. And that wrath is erupting from my body, just as Rayon predicted." A few seconds later Sloth narrowed his eyes and uttered in suspicion, "Wrath, seeing that?" Rayon continued, "As the Vessel of Wrath, I will convey his will accurately. Remember this well." In the next instant Rayon pretended to close his eyes to listen, took a deep breath, and immediately assumed the role, glaring as he scolded fiercely. "I cannot believe you dared to trespass on my territory. You must want to die. If you do not stop now, I will make sure you never sleep for the rest of your life. You lazy bastard." The Essence Emperor jumped up. "Your madman is insane. When did I ever say that?" Over there Sloth rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "Can I no longer sleep?" Sensing he was truly considering it, Rayon felt somewhat relieved. My half-hearted gamble might actually be working. Then he suddenly spoke in a trembling voice, "Your Grace Wrath, please do not do that." At the sound of this Sloth raised an eyebrow to look. Nearby, Rayon pretended his hands had lost control, pleading in panic, "Please restrain yourself. You cannot do such a thing. You must not descend now." The Essence Emperor still had not realized Rayon's plan and shouted angrily, "You bastard! What are you doing? What trick are you playing?" Rayon paid him no mind and continued his act. "You do not need to expend so much power dealing with lazy creatures like him. You only need to subjugate the entire continent beneath your feet. The Essence Emperor felt stunned. The continent? What now? Sloth suddenly froze, his gaze hardening on Rayon. Wait, he could be certain that the floral bracelet was indeed Wrath's. Rayon kept up the pretended self-talk with the bracelet on his wrist. You must take revenge because he dared touch your vassal. You will even follow him forever to ensure he cannot sleep. No, even you. Wrath. That cannot be. Sloth seized on a single phrase and looked shell-shocked. Wrath will follow me everywhere and not let me sleep, and will also fight me while doing so? He began to struggle inwardly. If I keep fighting Wrath, I will not be able to sleep. A human with Wrath's energy, his bracelet, and even knowing what I hate most, he truly is the vessel of Wrath. The Essence Emperor, seeing the situation, went pale. Rayon breathed a quiet sigh of relief. I have created a scenario that irritates Sloth based on Wrath's description, and I also showed him Wrath's bracelet. Now things are unfolding as I predicted. He decided to finish it off and stated loudly again, "Let me reintroduce myself. I am the vessel of Wrath, the one about to become his body when he descends." Rayon added, "And I know why you came here. That wave must have disturbed your sleep." Then he paused. "However, you picked the wrong opponent. The culprit behind this incident is a group called Eden using those monsters as their pieces. We were only protecting our castle from the waves Eden caused, and besides, I do not know who those Eden bastards are." Sloth slowly spoke up, "So you mean to say you are not involved? If you speak the truth, then I have no reason to fight Wrath." Saying that he turned to leave. "I am going back. I need to sleep." Rayon seized the opportunity. His energy was already waning. The moment had come. Nearby, Rayon pretended his hands had lost control, shouting in panic, "Please restrain yourself. You must not do this. You cannot descend now." The Essence Emperor vaguely sensed Rayon's intent and yelled, "Stop pushing, you damned madman." Rayon ignored him and continued his act. "You have something to say. Very well, I will convey every single word exactly, so please wait for me." In the next moment Rayon snarled angrily, "Sloth, how dare you leave after attacking my people?" The other replied indifferently, "Wrath, I did not know you were there." Rayon barked back, "You should shut up if you are only making excuses. If I had not appeared, then you would have wiped out my people already." Then Rayon spoke in a low voice, "Because you are a demon, you know it. Do you not? Blood for blood." Sloth frowned, "No, I did not even." But Rayon did not let him finish and jumped into his words, "Because the monsters fled from you, my people had to die. And you think I will just close my eyes while others are blamed because you woke up?" Rayon asked coldly. He then put on a lofty tone, "However, taking your life to repay the blood debt would not gain much. So, as a noble demon lord, I will give you a chance. Make your choice." Rayon thumped his chest and bluntly asked, "Will you give up the sleep you cherish most? Or will you surrender and hand your power to the vessel of this king?" The Essence Emperor shouted in alarm, "Bastard, so this has been your aim all along, you wicked demon." On the other side Sloth raised one finger, "You asked me to choose between my sleep and my power. Then that is easy." Seeming to anticipate his move, the Essence Emperor hurriedly tried to stop him in vain. "No, you must kill this bastard, Sloth," he shouted loudly. "You are being deceived by a human more vile than a demon. You could kill him with a flick of your hand. Please stop." But it was too late. Sloth did not hesitate to deploy the array. Releasing a surge of energy into Rayon, the Essence Emperor wailed in despair, "No." The energy spiraled deeply into Rayon's chest. His body staggered, eyes wide with shock. A magical status window appeared and announced, "A portion of Sloth's power has been fused into your soul and body. That energy will activate after the adaptation period ends." Rayon stared at his palm in bewilderment. "Is this Sloth's energy?" The Essence Emperor was stunned and bitterly cried out, "So this is where I will die. I never thought I would go out from stress." Sloth finished and turned to go. "Well, I am heading back. I am too sleepy. I will go to sleep." He had barely taken a few steps when Rayon called after him again, "Sloth, stop right there." He sighed impatiently, clearly losing patience. "What now?" Rayon's pupils contracted sharply as he felt a crushing pressure, inwardly sighing in awe. Such a terrifying killing intent. He thought to himself, if I provoke him any further, whether I am wrath or not, he will definitely kill me. With that in mind, he hurriedly rummaged through his pocket. I have something for you. Rayon quickly tossed an item towards Sloth. Take it. You will need this. He kindly explained in brief. It is the Mana Stone of the Goblin King. Sloth blurted out, this thing, it is warm. With it I can continue sinking into eternal sleep. Rayon seized the chance to bargain. I give you this, so no matter what tremors occur here in the future, do not come down again, and if a wave erupts, make sure you restrain it properly and stop it. Sloth nodded slightly. That is not difficult, but this is also Wrath's demand. Rayon replied honestly, no, this is a condition I set with you so you will not appear here again. The other was silent for a few seconds. Compared to the value of this Mana Stone, it is a cheap price, so then. He suddenly reached out, black energy coiling around Rayon's wrist. Rayon's lips trembled in doubt. You are. Sloth spoke slowly. Do not worry, this is only a change. As he finished, the energy faded and another bracelet appeared on Rayon's wrist. Sloth took the initiative to explain. One day it will be useful to you. Rayon sighed. But why must it be a bracelet shaped like a flower and not something else? The other answered indifferently. I made it according to the taste of your master. This time he decisively turned his back and left. Then I will go before your master troubles me any further. Rayon stared at Sloth's departing figure, lips pressed tight in silence, not looking away for even a second. Yet his strength also had limits, his eyelids nearly collapsing. Rayon reminded himself, I must not fall here. He tried to steel his spirit until Sloth had gone far away and the sun began to rise again. I must not collapse. Rayon glanced at the Essence Emperor lying broken in a corner, muttering to himself, only now do I realize everything was truly dangerous. He could clearly hear the bitter curses, Rayon, you bastard. But at this moment Rayon only felt lightness in his heart. If I had no information about Sloth, or if Wrath had not agreed to gamble, or if anyone within the castle had retained their consciousness, I could never have used this method. Rayon understood this clearly, and then, not long after, sunlight once again shone upon Havon Castle. He sighed inwardly, truly a night of despair that seemed as if tomorrow would never arrive. Yet as the figure of the demon lord vanished from sight, the darkness receded, and the sun began to rise. The warm sunlight covered Millen's face. He shielded his eyes and sat up. It seemed he was still alive. Millen struggled to hold his head. The other warriors had just woken up as well, looking at each other in confusion. He looked down at the sword beside him, thinking to himself, I clearly remember feeling a wave of energy shock at the end. Millen tried to recall everything, suddenly bewildered. The energy of a transcendent, one who had surpassed the absolute realm. It was enough to remind him of the Northern Annihilation. How could I have survived? At that moment, Tarion hurriedly ran over. Seeing him still intact, he joyfully exclaimed, Commander, you are unharmed. Millen staggered to his feet. Tarion, what about the others? He quickly replied, yes, everyone is still. Tarion suddenly fell silent, his mouth agape, unable to utter a word, making Millen confused. What are you shocked about? He followed the other's gaze, and as he turned his head, Millen's eyes widened in astonishment. Rayon stood with his back to them, on top of the wall towering like a mountain. He moved his lips, calling his name. Rayon. His face was haggard, his eyes revealed exhaustion, but he still smiled. I kept my promise. Tarion felt a surge of fear rising inside. Did he really stop that monster? Even the commander was knocked unconscious. How could he stand firm until the end? Rayon slowly spoke. I am glad that everyone is, but before he could finish, his body staggered, collapsing forward. Millen hurriedly called, Rayon. Tarion was equally panicked. Hey. They rushed to catch him. Rayon was completely unconscious, his eyes closed. Only the sound of steady breathing could be heard. The corner of Millen's lips curved slightly. The battle is over. Let us applaud the hero. In the time after that, the people here continued to return to their daily lives. The whole street was bustling. In a room, Milland folded his arms, his face stern as he asked, "Rayon has not woken yet." Below reported back, "No, he is still sleeping. Clearly he is fine, but the battle has already passed 3 days." Milland let out a slight sigh. "I believe his body is exhausted from it. It will take some time to recover." Tyrion was clearly still curious. He immediately changed the subject. "Anyway, what was that thing? The moment I felt its energy, everything after that was a blank." Milland's answer shocked everyone present in the room. It was a demon. According to his observation, that sinister and vicious aura was clearly demonic energy. Such a powerful wave of energy shock meant it was a demon king. If it was not the Northern Annihilation, then it would be impossible to fight against a demon king. Those present immediately buzzed with agitation. "Then how could Rayon, and also none of us died? I do not see how that is possible at all." Ediquil hesitantly spoke up. "Do you think he made a pact with the Demon King?" Tyrion's eyes widened in alarm. "A pact?" He explained clearly, "Even if Rayon is a genius, there is no way he could defeat a Demon King. So the only possibility is a pact. This is just my opinion, but I believe he chose to sell both his soul and body to save everyone." Milland rubbed his chin in deep thought for a long while. "I also remember he uttered the word pact before he fainted." The others grew even more bewildered. "So he really sacrificed himself to save us." Ediquil seized the chance to speak. "Please tell us about Rayon. I know he is not an ordinary mercenary, but I think we can no longer hide his identity." He no longer had any reason to conceal it. He let out a faint sigh. "Fine, it must be said now." With that, Milland firmly announced that Rayon was of the Sieghart lineage. Ediquil exclaimed in admiration. A 16-year-old with such talent could only come from the 6 emperors or the 5 demons. Tyrion also agreed with this opinion. "I already knew he was not ordinary, but being from the Sieghart family makes even more sense." After revealing everything, Milland slightly tilted his head to look out the window. "Rayon has sacrificed himself to save us many times already. We owe him too great a debt, so we must give him appropriate compensation." He pondered for a moment, finally folded his arms and declared, "From now on, let us support him." The scene shifted to the room where Rayon was resting. He had just drowsily opened his eyes. Rayon stared at the ceiling, thinking, "This familiar scene, I must be in the infirmary of Havon Castle." His heart suddenly felt much lighter. "If I woke up here, then it seems everything is fine." As he sat up, Rayon immediately noticed the figure asleep in a corner. The other was lying sprawled across the desk, seemingly still deep in slumber. He wondered, "What is Yua doing here?" Rayon rolled his eyes around the room once, vaguely guessing the current situation. She had been taking care of him while he was asleep. Had she? He suddenly felt confused. She did not even know when he would wake up, and yet she did all that. After a while, Rayon tried moving his arm, thinking to himself, "Anyway, the state of my body is really beyond the data. I thought it would be ruined by sloth." He clenched his fist, feeling doubtful. But in the end he actually felt stronger. It seemed like his senses were sharper too. What exactly happened? The voice of the Emperor's essence suddenly echoed in his ear. "What? Surprised that your body feels so light?" He furiously cursed. "The strange thing is your head, not your body, you filthy trickster brat." Rayon smiled, replying nonchalantly, "Thank you, Wrath. You saved me." The Emperor's essence jumped up angrily. "Are you mocking me? Do you want to die?" He kept grumbling non-stop, tricking both demon kings. "You are the first one to do that. I am sure Sloth is the dumbest demon king in existence." The Emperor's essence shouted without thinking. "How could your soul level increase just because you resisted that fool for a few minutes?" Rayon was taken aback. "My soul level?" He opened the system window to check. A flood of notifications came rushing in. "Your soul level has increased by resisting a transcendent being. 10,000 flames art has reached 4 blades. You have endured the interference of Wrath. All stats increased by 4 points. Water resistance has increased. Stamina increased by 2 points. Perception increased by 2 points. Agility increased by 1 point. You have bet against Wrath for the 6th time. All stats increased by 5 points. Strength increased by 2 points. Energy increased by 2 points. Endurance increased by 2 points. You have received a title Coaxer of Kings, a title granted to those who do not use power, but use other ways to coax a king. Effect: when interacting with someone stronger or of higher status, increases the opponent's trust and affection. All of it coming at once made Rayon feel overwhelmed. I could not check because I was unconscious, but I never expected to get so many rewards. His eyes suddenly stopped at one line. He exclaimed in shock, "Wait, this..." It clearly stated, "The laziness attribute has been created. Stats will increase while sleeping. Stamina and aura recovery speed will increase greatly while sleeping." The Emperor's Essence dropped his jaw and roared, "What? Your stats increase while you sleep?" Rayon finally understood. No wonder I felt stronger. It was like training 24 hours a day. Thinking of that, he burst into cheerful laughter. "This is even better than I thought." The Emperor's Essence was unwilling, glaring furiously. Sloth, that fool, should have been killed. He could not contain his curiosity, demanding, "How many stats did you gain?" Rayon honestly answered, "Maybe about 11. The Emperor's Essence was so shocked his mouth twisted. 11. He bitterly ground out each word. "How much have you stolen from me?" Rayon grinned and replied, "When you get angry it increases again." Right at that moment, Raiden pushed the door open and entered, slightly startled. "Rayon." He let out a breath of relief. "Finally you woke up." Yua had just woken up too. She hurriedly ran to Rayon's bedside. "Brother Rayon, are you all right?" He smiled back. Everyone worried too much. Raiden suddenly remembered something. "Oh right, I almost forgot." Rayon raised an eyebrow at him. "Huh." Right after that, Raiden hurriedly informed him, "The commander wants to see you after you wake up." Fast forward to the next moment. In Havon Castle, a deep voice resounded. "Greetings, Commander." The other party nodded in response. It seems you have fully recovered." With that said, Millen spared no praise. "I have met many geniuses, but I have never seen anyone improve as quickly as you. You will soon surpass me." Rayon humbly replied, "Not at all, I was just lucky." He laughed heartily. "No need to be modest. I am sorry for asking when you have just woken up." Millen did not beat around the bush and went straight to the point. "But how exactly did you deal with that monster?" Rayon had already anticipated this situation, swallowing dryly. "Here it comes." He clearly understood one thing. These people did not know about the Demon King. They might cast him out if they thought he had ties with demons. While Rayon was still calculating, trying to come up with a new excuse, the other party spoke first. "You do not have to answer." Hearing that, he could not help but be startled. "Yes," Milland explained. "We know he was strong enough to be a Demon King. I believe you made a deal to drive him away, and the thing a Demon King would want. We believe you pledged your soul and body to save everyone." Ediquil eagerly added, "It seems we were right." Tarion also nodded in agreement, his tone full of sorrow. "Making a deal with a Demon King to save us. You really are." Facing this situation, Rayon was suddenly speechless. It seemed things were not unfolding the right way. The Emperor's Essence could not bear it anymore, roaring in anger. "Fools! It was that idiot who abandoned his soul, not Rayon, and what Demon King would even want a soul and body?" Millen suddenly stood up, solemnly declaring, "Since you sacrificed yourself for us, we should also do something for you." He and the senior members simultaneously looked at Rayon, their faces full of gratitude. "I respectfully bow to all that you have done, all the sacrifices you have made for us." Milland, on behalf of everyone, spoke firmly. "Havon Castle will support you." Rayon Zegart. He openly showed his stance. "If you need anything, just let us know." Upon hearing this, Rayon's lips curved slightly. He gladly accepted their sincerity. "In that case, there is something I would like to ask." Milland nodded slightly. "Go ahead." Since that was so, Rayon did not hold back anymore, and put forth his request. "Please spar with me until I return to my clan."